Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Just one little bit of that pine tree.
And it nearly took one little bit of the flag. Look at that reaction.
Underneath one limb, rises and turns over. 7 iron, 207.
6 iron yesterday, set up an eagle. Is this enough? It is. Oh, here it comes. The shot of a lifetime. The long journey is over. McIlroy has his masterpiece.
We did everything from open field to red zone to low red zone to goal line to 2-point plays to end of game, needing a yard. We kicked live field goals, had a couple punts. So we got pretty overall general work. You know, you can tell it's early on. We've been doing so much teaching 7-on-7, 9-on-7, team run, team pass, those types of generic scripted things. But I thought it was really good. Pleased, came out of it healthy, and a lot of guys got work. Look forward to watching the tape.
Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. What's up, DB?
I am not happy with us, but it's okay. It's partly all of our faults.
You know, we could be better. We could be better. We'll get there.
So, you know, you just never know. You think it's normal,
Yeah.
and it's really not.
Just
So
what
you
the
have
morning holds.
you just got to give yourself about a 6-8 minute cushion.
Yep.
So I do have a question though.
Yeah.
If you know that it's going to 2 lanes, why would you at any point ever have to get over? Why don't you just get in the 2 lanes?
Yeah. So
I'm sure there's something I'm missing.
well, people are selfish.
Well, yeah, that's
So that's a lot of it.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're being honest,
okay. Well,
they think their time's more important than everybody else's, so they're going to cut around everything and then try and get in later.
yeah,
Selfish.
it is absolutely wild. It's maddening.
Now that you're going to have people that argue that the zipper merge is the way to go. You stay in both lanes as long as possible, and then kind of doing every other
I
situation.
understand, but somebody's got to acquiesce.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've seen like the gaggle of ladies that walk dogs, and they walk in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you don't get to bend the rules and have everybody.
Just kind of go along with what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
no.
get your ass over. You know what I mean? Like,
That's how I feel when people are like wandering in parking lots and they're just like wandering down the middle of the thing,
yeah.
looking for their car. And it's like,
So-
man, like pick a side.
So Zoe and I have a thing where I always, like, if we're at the grocery store together, I tell her, I say, see, Zoe, that's selfish. That's called selfish. That's lack of self-awareness.
Yeah, it's I need people to be a little better.
Yeah.
I'll try and be a little better.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was cool. Made it. Looks like we made it. I was just excited to see Shane
Yeah.
because
Well, he's rocking his golf hat. He's ready to go.
well, Shane and I could
exciting.
wallow
Yeah.
in the fact that we got walloped
Mm-hmm.
with our picks for the Masters.
I thought, whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, at what point, Shane, were you and I thinking we had a chance? Ever?
Like Thursday afternoon.
I'll say
Yeah, I would say Thursday afternoon.
Thursday
I
into
was like-
Friday.
I was like, oh.
because Rory dropped 4 at the end of Thursday.
Yeah.
And then Rom was struggling, which were my first 2 picks.
Well, I had 2 MCs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was.
That was rough.
Yeah, well, I don't need you to reiterate. I'm already letting you know that it was not good.
Do you want the totals? Do you want the numbers?
Yeah,
So you finished last,
dead last.
plus 26.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Shane was second, plus 6.
Yeah.
I won at minus 20.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
My favorite was talking to you Saturday. I was laughing my head off. Every 4 minutes, this dude would say, oh, needed that one. That would have helped. Oh, man. That would have put me in a better spot. I'm like, Ravi, 2 of your picks are in the top 5. you're good.
At that point, it was actually 3. But
like you're good.
So here's the thing. It's like, in all honesty, I was only paying attention to my picks.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have a frame of reference for where you guys were. I thought you guys were closer because
I finally had to, speaking of zipper merge, I finally had to zipper you up when I said, I have 2 MCs.
Yeah. And that's when I realized, I didn't realize how far ahead I was.
It was straight roller.
Because I knew I know Shano had like Scheffler, and so I was like, oh, he's doing pretty good. And then like you had a couple guys in the top 20, so I was like, you're not in terrible shape. So I thought it was closer.
I know one thing. I'll never pick Will's Outdoors to do anything.
Yeah, that was rough.
Ever.
Will and Cantlay hurt you a little bit.
I'll still rock with Cantlay.
Or no, Straka hurt you.
Yeah. There's a joke in there, but I'm not gonna. I mean, we're being kind today.
Are we on a Monday?
Yeah.
Okay. We're choosing kindness.
Plus, I have a thing for a Straka.
Yeah.
It was just Martin, and he played for the Pens.
Yeah.
I think he wore 82. He was a goal getter. Do you remember Martin Straka, Shane?
Oh yeah.
So I
actually do know that name.
So I'm not gonna be too upset about Strakas.
You're not gonna hit up Strop too much?
No.
Or Sepp?
Sepp
Straka?
Yeah. He's cool.
No.
For now.
It was so as I'm watching, and I'll be honest with you, I don't watch a ton of golf generally.
Yeah.
It's not really my deal, but
I like golf.
I was captivated yesterday.
I think the free world was. We had a youth clinic yesterday, and I had coaches that don't typically. I'm texting Coach Samanji about golf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is he a golf guy?
I didn't think so.
He doesn't strike me as a golf
But he's
guy.
like, man, I kind of just been all in these last 3 or 4 days. And I was like, yeah, we have a term that we like to use. Like, we talk about bedwetting.
Yeah.
And so I think we were just captivated by who was and who wasn't, because his big thing is always rising to the occasion.
Yeah,
like that. I mean, that's in the moment you got to be here. So we pay attention to the mental stuff like that. And every now and again, he would just hit me with a text, and he would be like, "Holy bleep!" Or it's just like, I mean, he watches golf just like he talks, intense.
Yeah. So our guy that we talked to on Friday, John Rathouse, texted me yesterday after the whole thing was over, and I had to ask him. I was like, okay, since I don't watch a ton of golf, I was like, okay, I need some frame of reference here. Like, scale of 1 to 10, was that back 9 as nutty as it felt, right, in real time? And he goes, that was an 11. Like, that was nuts. Just everything. I mean, you had Rory blow a 5-shot lead
in 2 holes.
And then get a 2-shot lead back, and then still end up in a playoff.
Yeah, it's wild.
Like, what are we doing here?
I did feel for, and Rory's okay. I don't have any strong opinions. There's golfers I really, really like.
Yeah.
There's some guys I'm just like, like I didn't pick DeChambeau just because I don't like him.
Yeah.
Right. I probably need to get over that.
Maybe you don't want to root for him.
But Rory's never really bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like Rory was going to take off about 6-7 years ago as like the spokesperson for golf, because he has strong opinions.
Yeah. Well, and you heard that with the live stuff.
And so with strong opinions, you probably are fairly emotional.
Yeah. There's a chance, at least.
So, I mean.
But you also put yourself out there, right?
Yeah, and I don't mind. So I'm okay with authenticity.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I can ride with that, because at least I know what I'm getting.
But it makes you vulnerable.
And then you let me know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like, okay, hey, DB, it's out there.
Yeah.
It's up to you to deal with it or not.
Yeah.
So then at least I have, at least I know how to receive it. I just hate guessing.
Yeah. You have the option of what to do with it.
Yeah. So with Rory, I don't have to
guessing?
I don't have to guess.
I was kind of rooting for him, because I felt like the PGA didn't really do him any favors when he came out pretty strong for the PGA over Liv a few years ago.
Yeah, I didn't really ride with him.
And they really didn't get his back while he was riding with them. And so I was kind of happy for him that he had his moment here. And I didn't realize until they put the graphic up how rare the career Grand Slam is in golf.
Well, he was the first European.
Yeah, and he's the first one since Tiger. So 25 years ago, Tiger completed it.
But
and
how about all the company he's keeping? Those guys are still alive.
Yeah.
He's got Sarazen, you've got Nicholas, you've got Woods, and I'm missing one. I'm not deferring to you.
Don't defer to me.
Well, good morning. Is that the first time we heard your voice? No,
Hogan.
it's the second time. Yeah.
And player. There's 6 now.
Wow.
Hogan and player.
Hogan and player.
Yep.
Play on, player.
Play on.
Play on. It's an interesting weekend, man.
Yeah.
From the highs and lows of, can you imagine? And I don't know if I could. Can you imagine rolling out of the rack today, having a chance to I'll just pick an arbitrary number, to make $400K. Okay, you get out of bed today, Shane. Your little 3.5s hit the floor. You hit snooze for the 51st time on your little digital watch, and you go to bed tonight and you've made $31K. Like, are you looking at that like it's $31K that I didn't have, or man, what happened to the other 369 that I could have won?
That's a great question.
I mean, these guys are missing putts and rolling balls in the drink that are costing them hundreds of thousands.
I'm trying to remember his name. He shot an 81 yesterday. Shane Lowry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So when he got out of the rack yesterday, did you see the tweet? He could like he
almost 800,000.
769.
And then he cleared 70-some?
76.
That's a tough. Like, listen, 76,000.
How about Oberg?
Yeah. He cost himself a 500,000 on the last hole.
On the last hole.
Yeah. On the last hole.
$500K.
You know, I kind of
3 sand pits will do that.
I kind of
shut up, David Hasselhoff.
On the beach. I kind of liked though. So
he said 3 sand pits will do you.
Like Oberg had an opportunity to tie for the lead after Rory went back to minus 11.
To get to 11.
And Oberg's just like, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
You know, and it cost him a stroke because he ended up leaving himself too much on the comebacker.
Yep. And I told JB.
But, like, he went for it.
I told him was it Saturday? I don't know. I was sitting outside in my fields doing something dumb. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I was doing. But I was telling JB, I just got into this, like, temperament thing. Mm-hmm. Like, who has the temperament to be able to – and I'm like, hey. And he was probably only in, like, 4th or 5th. And I'm like, Oberg's the guy that's probably built emotionally to make a run late on Sunday.
Yeah.
So when he got to within 1, I hit the FWD to the tweet. 15 minutes later.
Totally irrelevant.
I wanted a take back. He hit me with a picture. He was like rolling to Tulsa. He's got a big job to do. And man after my own heart, man had the phone on.
Yep.
Pumping the audio through.
So I
don't know how long KC to Tulsa is, though.
I thought Oberg's mentality was really interesting. And then I was actually thinking about this yesterday in real time. I was wondering how you were processing Rory's temperament, because there was a lot of bedwetting, but he ultimately came through.
So my man, St. Louis Jordan, we were talking about this, about how, because he knows what I like, right? Profiling and stuff like that. And he goes, man, I just like to get inside his head over that whole back nine. Man, you know where I landed the plane?
What's that?
Mental toughness. He showed mental toughness.
It takes a lot to not totally collapse.
100%.
To lose the 5-shot lead, still be in it.
And he had done that before. So I'm like,
what, Pinehurst a couple years ago, right?
I'm like, okay, so what WWDD, right? What would Damon do? And I would be it's a little gross, but you'd be having hints of like maple syrup after multiple days of bedwetting and it getting into your mattress. I would be like Mrs. Butterworth. I mean, I'm just saying.
You're right. That is gross.
Oh, super happy.
I'm a 5 sense guy, so I like to use my sense of smell.
I mean, it was a vivid description.
There would be, you know, like, and it smells like pee. Yeah, that would be your boy. Because I just was thinking, especially when I knew he was standing over that 5-footer on 18.
Yeah.
Immediately, I'm watching. Coincidentally, I was watching my meat get done. I'm standing there on the deck, and I'm like, man, I would rather do 226 million other things than stand over that 5-footer.
Right.
And I am ultra competitive.
And he had to wait to hit that thing a while.
Yeah. And I'm
I
like,
mean, you want to talk about ice and kickers.
I'm like, yep.
DeChambeau falling apart, ice Rory the entire back nine.
And I'm a big believer. Like, I think baseball is the most difficult of the true skilled team sports.
Mhm.
I will die on that hill. And I don't know. I would get in the batter. I'd catch a punt in front of, whatever. All those things
Yeah.
I've done before,
Yeah.
so maybe that's why.
You've got a more familiar.
The only other equivalent,
Yeah.
and I know I would miss the entire rim, is to be shooting a free throw.
Or like game online.
All by myself. On
Like
the
one
other
of those
end.
like fouled on a buzzer beater.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm not drawing iron. Or I would shoot it in such a way just where I could touch the rim, so I wouldn't be that guy. But
Yeah.
that'd be maple syrup
Little
to the 10th power.
little clangy on that one.
Yeah, no question. Because I don't do it enough.
Yeah.
So I can't make the competitive correlation.
Yeah, you can't like go back and be like, hey, I've done this before.
No, because I just
If you did it once, you'd be fine.
that's not true. That's not true. I'm telling you, man, I have irrational confidence, and I am very much realistic about wetting the bed.
Yeah, I
Just have a little faith.
Oh.
like George Michael.
The free world is watching.
Yeah. And this is the last place, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this is I think that's the hardest thing about Augusta, right? Is everywhere else rotates. So if you've ever had any
Rotate.
I don't know what that's from.
I have no idea. What difference does it make?
I thought you were referencing something. I was trying to make sure I got it.
No, I'm referencing nothing. I'm referencing log cabin.
Like
you
if-
seem like a big log cabin guy. Are you log cabin?
Like
Mrs. Butterworth, your mama or Jai Mama? Jemima.
Aunt Jemima?
Are you an aunt guy?
Yeah, I'm an aunt over aunt.
Okay.
I'm not like a big auntie, like aunt.
I think it might be a cultural thing.
Probably,
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of aunties in India. Actually, I think they do call them aunties.
How would you know?
I've been there. It's been a while. Like stained. No, every once in a while you have to like go pick up my dad from the temple or something. Someone will be like, auntie, auntie. And I'm like,
Might be a different word though for something.
it might be, yeah, it could be.
You just think it's auntie.
Could be like a-hole. And I'm just like, oh, hey, what's up?
God, her makeup is fatigue. I wonder who does that for her.
Squirrel.
Well, never mind. We're just watching Unsportsmanlike, and Michelle has laid it on pretty thick this morning.
Maybe she had a rough morning like we did.
No, I'm sure she got to work on time.
Well, she probably got to work on time. Didn't mean she have a rough morning.
Your text was fine though. I'm cutting it pretty close this morning. I was like, yeah, me too.
You're like,
But I had an excuse because I was coming from West Side already.
yeah, my excuse was more medical related.
You're coming from home?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, it was a little rough. It was a little rough for your boy.
What happened?
You good, Shane?
I just wanted to make sure you're okay. I was just asking what happened.
Yeah, I just was trying to get the equivalent to just losing hundreds of thousands of dollars in minutes. And I
Yeah.
guess for those big timers who have the fat portfolios, and I mean, they've had to ride the wave over these last 3 weeks.
Yeah. I'll say that's ironically happened to a lot of people, I think, over
the last month has been a little dicey.
well,
But I mean, I would literally tear up.
I mean, Oberg,
Losing-
you're literally talking about 10 minutes, he lost $500,000.
Yeah.
And for Lowry, you're talking about the course of a day, lost $700,000.
The only thing I could relate to is probably to the good, because I remember after the bowl game, my agent was like, "You just made yourself some money today."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, "We'll see."
Yeah.
After I woke up in the bathtub, it was great. That's a true story, by the way. One leg over, it's like 4:10, and I'm like, "Man, what time's our plane leaving?"
They just leave you down there?
No, so you don't have to worry about that. I will not. That will never be me.
Yeah.
I mean, knock on.
What do you have? Did you ever leave, guys?
There's a handful of guys that have not made flights post-bowl game.
Okay.
One you know very well.
Yeah.
Very famous story. And coincidentally, he kind of continued with that lifestyle.
Well,
Yeah. He wasn't playing that year.
Okay.
But yeah, he and about 4 or 5 guys
Yeah.
conspicuously absent.
But like Osborne would leave somebody.
Wheels up.
Yeah. Okay. Let's roll.
Wheels up.
I feel like Rhule would leave somebody too.
Think he wouldn't? You should have seen it. Yeah, he doesn't play.
He's ready to go.
Did he seem unusually dialed during the presser?
Nah.
I don't think unusually. He was the level of dialed I tend to expect from him.
Well, when you start talking about physicality.
Yeah.
Some folks that, all heads to bed.
I do. I really enjoyed, and I'm sure we'll get into this today.
You think?
As we talk to Sam McKewon at 8, and then we'll talk Ryan Ballangee at 9 to wrap up our Masters talk. But I really enjoyed him going into the transfer portal stuff and him talking about, being here and having a competitive roster and like needing guys here that need to be competitive and really trusting, like, hey, do you trust us or do you not?
So I think he's definitely grown in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And I think having conversations with people over the last – do you remember the person that I told you that he had a couple of really good conversations with that I said that he learned from?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember who I was talking about?
No.
It was Dante Lloyd.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Talking about Jalen Lloyd.
Yep.
And how there were some takeaways from some pretty poignant conversations where he felt like he made some legitimate points.
Mm.
And he's like, I'm going to take that and I'm going to do with it what I can. I'll control what I can control, and I will wish you the best.
Yeah.
Now there are some other guys, and coincidentally we heard from one
over the weekend.
Man,
somebody needs to tell him to stop talking.
I want to. I do.
I mean, somebody needs to tell him he's not doing himself any favors.
He'll be fine because I think it makes us mad.
I mean, this is a little bit a weird way to talk what we were talking about with Rory. When you put yourself out there, like now he's got to do it.
There's just a lot of room for emotional maturity. He's just got to grow.
Also, and if you missed it, we're talking about James Williams made some more comments.
Oh, is that what we're talking about? I didn't say anybody by name.
I mean, it was on a podcast.
Is that what we're talking about, Shane?
Public info.
Do you know? I didn't know. Is it James?
He came on. He went on a Florida State podcast and talked about how much more talent there is in Florida and stuff like that. This is the second time he's mentioned that.
First time I gave him a mulligan.
Yeah, first time we gave him a little grace. Because he's a guy that will kind of speak off the cuff a little bit.
And I think that one,
in context, I didn't take much of it.
Yeah, I still think he didn't mean anything by it.
But you double down on it, something like this, and you kind of have to start believing what people say. And I don't necessarily buy it.
Yeah.
I saw that Florida State team play a lot last year. I saw them play a lot.
Now
you got a lot of different guys in there.
I will say this. They got a lot of new guys. Mm-hmm. And they got some guys that can coach now.
Sure.
I mean,
yeah.
T. Knighton can coach. Coop can coach. Like, they're okay.
No, I think they'll be
But
fine.
I didn't. I'm like,
Well, one, it's unnecessary.
Stop it.
2, you're not doing yourself any favors.
Yeah, so I think that's one of those guys where are you getting the information from and who's telling you? Like, I'm big into that. So this really, really, really resonated with me.
Well, that's what Rhule's talking about.
That's what I'm talking about. And you and I have this conversation all the time about a variety of things.
Mm-hmm.
We'll receive information, and sometimes I always try to guard against whether I like the person or not.
Sure.
Right? Or whether they have my best interest at heart or whatever, right? There's this filter, and you always have to be able to pull back and say, man, is there anything that they're saying that's remotely true?
Mm-hmm.
It may hurt my feelings, or it may be a vantage point I didn't have, or whatever. But we've kind of dumbed it down into it's not just as simple as saying consider the source. See, that's what we say when we want to protect ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, consider the source. Doesn't mean just because you don't like the source doesn't mean there isn't any truth.
Sure.
in what they're saying. So I think to stay present and be able to evaluate regardless of how you feel about that individual is pretty important, right? And that goes to whether you like somebody. Oh, man, like this guy is this and this and this, and he's been this and this and this to me. It still doesn't – you still can't really allow that to process. And it's not – I mean, this was a knockdown drag out because you kind of died on that hill about – well, I mean, yeah, it's based on pre-existing relations.
That's on history.
And I'm trying to say – with that particular analogy, I was like, yeah, but you don't want to stymie your learning curve either.
Yeah.
Right. Or sometimes, even though they've been a turd burglar, doesn't mean that this time they're being. That's where you got. That's where
because I'm going to play the odds,
and that's right.
Yeah.
But that's started the whole good piece of cheese philosophy because that was a minute ago.
Yeah. Because if they're a turd 90% of the time, I'm going to assume that
you're not operating in that 10% window.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna assume I'm operating in 10%. What I think is more important than if I like the person that's the source of the information, it's too simplistic to say, do they like me? It's more like, what is their point in telling me this, right? Because their motives are more important than my feelings when they're giving information.
Are you sure?
I think so. Now, sometimes, listen.
Their motives are more important.
If somebody's giving me information, their motive for giving me that information is more important than how I feel about that person in terms of how I should receive it. Now, I'll be the first one to admit, sometimes my emotions get the best of me and I will leave some stuff out there that I shouldn't, or I won't take in information that I should. I understand that. But in terms of if I'm operating from an idealistic place, I want to evaluate what their motive for talking to me is versus how I feel about that person, because their motive will tell me more than what I feel. Like we see this all the time with insiders and stuff, right? You see this piece of information, like, that doesn't really make any sense. You're going to go, oh, who would want that information out there? And it'd be like, oh, they're doing a favor for the team, so they'll do them a solid later down the line or whatever, right? We see this all the time. Same thing with the transfer portal, like what Matt Rhule talked about. Okay, it is in whoever's giving you the information, be like, oh, I can get you more money. I can get you more playing time. Well, it's because they want something from you, right? Like, it's in their best interest to give you the best case scenario. It is not in their best interest to say, hey, you're going to have to fight for a job here too, and the money's going to be about the same and whatever, because that's not moving anybody. You're not getting anybody out of the portal that way or into the portal that way. So their motives and that's the same thing with Coach Rhule. What does Coach Rhule really want for you? Is he just trying to keep you on the depth chart? Or do you believe that he wants the best for you as a person and a player and a human being? Because if you believe the second, then it's really easy to not believe what he tells you. He said that as much. Hey, if you don't trust us, then it doesn't make sense to take into account what we're saying. But if you do trust us, if you trust what we're trying to do here and you trust what we're trying to do with you, then just trust us. Take the information we're giving you as something you can take on trust.
Are you a big delivery guy?
Yeah. How people say things matters.
He came across as, and it was Shane. No, we'll take a break first, but it was if you do what we do, if you do what we ask this next 4 years, and you buy into the strength and conditioning, the nutrition,
training table, recovery,
we'll get you developed here.
Yeah,
it's just how he landed the plane where I was like. That man, that guy is supremely confident in his process, and he's been on the back end too. Yeah. Well, he knows what he wants it to look like when you get to him at the next level.
And he said it twice. He goes, the first time he said it that way, next time he goes, pretty good chance you're going to get better.
Yeah. This is how his delivery was.
And so it was really matter of fact, but also a little snarky. Everybody's like, hey, just do what we ask. You're going to get better. Yep. You're going to get better at football here. Better opportunity now doesn't always mean you'll be a better football player later. There's a reason there's an opportunity at this other place you're going.
Yep.
That's DB. I'm Ravi, Lulla, more Hurrdat Sports Live. Coming up next.
I want to talk a little Husker football as well. Year 3 under Matt Rhule. I feel like time's flown by with him, but we saw a bowl win first since 2016. What impressed you about that team, and how did you feel about the season?
Well, I think I was a little disappointed, but I think we all kind of wanted more in year 2. But I think that's just a competitor in me. I do believe that Matt Rhule is doing a tremendous job, and I think he's on track for the things that he's done in the past at other programs, and really just have to respect the process a little bit. he's a tremendous coach, and I think he really cares about the players. He's navigating through some difficult times with NIL and the portal and how that all is going to be working. And so I think he's doing a really good job. And, it's a different day and age in college football, but I think with Matt and with his wife, Julie, we just got a really great family there to support in Lincoln and with the football program. And we're just lucky to have them here in Nebraska.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, reminding you keep those eyes focused and straight ahead as you're driving to work this morning. You've got one job as a driver. That's to drive. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. DB, I want to get back to something we were talking about before the break there with Coach Rhule, but I want to make sure everybody's got the context for what we're talking about as well. Shane, can you play that clip for us?
What I said, we played the Iowa game, and that Monday I walked in, I said to the guys, listen, everybody has the right to make the best decision for them. I just asked two things. That A, you make the decision based on the right information. Don't come to me later and say, well, they told me this, but they end up doing that. Like, there's stories everywhere. And that's why, if you've been here and you trust us, if you're here and you say, well, Coach Rhule's lied to me, I don't trust him, then okay. But if you've been here and we've always told you the truth as best we know it, then if we tell you, hey, this is where we see you, then you probably should listen to that as opposed to somebody out there. Like, everyone out there always has something better for you. You know what I mean? Everybody's always got some, a better scheme, a quicker way to do this, a faster way to do that. There really is no quick fix, quick way to getting there. So make sure you're listening to the right information and then do it the right way. I left Temple to be the head coach at Baylor. Temple gave me my start. Temple had me assistant coach. Temple gave me my first head coaching job. But when the time came, I took on a new challenge. So I exited there. So I get it. Number two, I left Baylor to go be the head coach in Carolina. So I don't fault somebody when they leave here. I just tell the guys, make sure you're walking into the right situation. I've walked into many situations in my life, business, professional, they tell you one thing and it ends up being another. So be careful. Say to yourself, who am I getting the information from? Can I trust it? And that's all I want for our guys, because I desperately want them all to be happy and healthy and be successful. So sometimes I think there's really two groups. There's the guys who aren't going to play and they really want to play. And whether it's 105 or they're just not, they're just not quite good enough. And it looks like that's going to be the way for the rest of their career. And they want to move down. We try to help them as much as we can. And I love watching them succeed. There's a kind of a second group of guys who are good enough to play here. And I think they should stick it out and fight. I think too many people, outside people, parents, coaches, we're always trying to find like a better situation. But if you really are an NFL player or you're really a great player, you'll make your situation good enough by just getting better. And if you stay in this place, if you stay in this weight room, this training facility, this training table for 4 years, you're probably going to get developed.
There's two things in there that the first one really resonated with me. The second one, I'm a little conflicted on. The thing that really resonated with me is going into a decision with the right information. We've talked about this before, I think mostly off air, but for whatever reason, and I can't fathom why, a lot of people in my life will come to me for advice when they're dealing with things. And I'll be like, well, look at my life, man. Like that, I'm not a good person, but figure it out. But when they do, I don't try and if they really want my hard opinion, I'll just give it to them. Mm-hmm. But what I really try and do is make sure they understand the choices that they're making, right? Like my buddy Jake down in North Carolina, he's a NAI basketball coach. And he was trying to make these decisions. He's got 2 masters. He was worked in high schools before. He could go be an administrator, make really good money right now.
Oh, that's funny. I literally just had this conversation in passing yesterday.
Really?
Last night. Yep.
So I've told him before, I was like, you could have a nice living. You could probably still coach high school ball. You could be an administrator, student dean. He was a dean of students at 25 years old at a high school, at a big high school in South Dakota. This dude can go and walk into a high school tomorrow and make 6 figures, right? But instead he's coaching NAI ball, which I don't know if you know this. They don't pay 6 figures at NAI ball. And he's got a wife, he's got kids, he's got family to take care of. And I go, listen, man, I just need you to make sure you understand the choice you're making. You played NCCAA basketball, which means your path to becoming a Division I coach is likely impossible, but if it's possible, is going to be long and arduous and filled with tiny paychecks, right? So is that do you think you want to be a Division I head coach because that's the precipice of your career, or are you called to be a Division I coach? Is that what you really feel like your calling in life is? Because if you're just called to be a coach, you can sit there and be like, hey, I'm killing it at this NAI. We just won the conference championship, made the first NAI national tournament in program history and all this stuff, and you can be happy there. Okay, cool. Or if you think, hey, maybe a D3 or a D2, I'm kind of academically focused, would make sense for me. I want to be in one of those places. You make a pretty nice living and you're all good there. But know the choices you're making and why you're making them, right? Do you want to be a D1 head coach because you just have always dreamed about being a D1 head coach, or is it actually what you want? Mm-hmm. And are you willing to deal with the 15 years of crap along the way to get there because you didn't come from a place where people knew your name already? Mm-hmm. There's a big, going from NCCAA basketball player to Division I anything as a coach is almost impossible.
I've told you the degrees of difficulty about reconciling almost choosing to struggle by wanting the lifestyle that I have.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's whether it's flexibility in the schedule to be able to, go somewhere, pick somebody up. Mm-hmm. I get a lot of bat signals. Hey, can you come to school? Just the flexibility, right?
Yeah. Being able to be there for your kids, your family, your mom, whatever.
100%. Right. My mom is really critical just because sometimes she doesn't drive as much. But the other thing is being able to coach young people. Mm-hmm. And we have my good buddy who you met a couple of times, was maybe looking to do something different a couple years ago. And he's like, look, man, I'm just going to tell you kind of where your heart and passion lies with young people and kind of this nonprofit world, as he liked to call it. Mm-hmm. He's like, it's always going to be like this.
Yeah.
You're not probably going to be able to have it both ways.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was just one of those critical junctures where I had to consider who was telling me.
What their motives were.
What his motives were.
Yeah.
And he truly was trying to look out for me. Mm-hmm. Right? He's like, okay, if you're going to choose to be broke, just know that.
Yeah.
Right?
Understand the choice you're making. Right?
And I'm like, hey,
I'm trading money for.
I'm like, Adam, man, you're hurting my feelings. He's like, well, I'm just kind of putting it out there.
Yeah.
So when it came time to, to come back to media or whatever, I just remember it boiled down to, do I still want to be able to work with young people? Because I have to know where my sweet spot is.
Yeah.
Right? Let's say, hypothetically, I went to Nebraska to go to work over the last handful of years. I'd have to be very careful about how far away from actually
being around young people on the day-to-day.
And what that would do to me, given the opportunity to make significantly more money.
And at a place you really care about. That's part of it too, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not just a trade of money for passion, right? Because there's still passion on the other side.
100%.
That's the part that's really difficult, right? Like, there's still a thing you really care about on the other side, but it's like, okay, what do you care about most? What do you need most in your life to be fulfilled? And what choices do you have to make to balance that?
And it's funny because those little things right there is exactly what people, I think, players and people that take other jobs and stuff like that think about readily. The real key is are you risking short-term happiness for long-term success?
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, a lot of times that's what decision making boils down to. I always talk about, counting fast nickels versus long dimes, right? You asked me about James Williams earlier, and I said, there's a lot of emotional maturity there, but you just kind of laid it out. You said, well, what do I need? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, what do you need to be fulfilled versus what am I giving up on the other side?
So for him, where he was, there were three things that were very important to him, right? The relationship that he had with Coach Knighton, the relationship that he had with his significant other, and could he still play football?
Yeah. And those 3 boxes got checked.
All 3 of those boxes are currently being checked.
So there you go.
So he's
good.
He's happy.
Yeah.
He's happy. Now, the difference is, and he doesn't know this yet, because we don't know this yet, is how is that going to help you playing the long game versus how it is right now? You had built-in things in place here that were going to allow you to flourish.
To help you out.
How to manage your money. What are we doing with your accounts?
How do
what's the support group around it?
Academics. Are you going to get out with a degree?
All those things.
Because let's be totally blunt here. Not just about James Williams. Most of these guys will not make long enough money in the NFL for that to set them up for life.
There's 2 guys right now Nebraska has playing in the secondary that are still there, even though they don't, I think, love it, because it makes the most sense for their off-the-field goals too. Whether it's the rigor with Dennis and those guys in academics, they may fight it tooth and nail, but they know it's the best thing for them. And they've seen other people that they either like or gravitate towards that have benefited.
Like navigated it and endured.
Yep. From playing the long game there. And they're like, man, I want to leave. I think about leaving. I don't know if I'm going to get that out there.
Yeah.
Right. So the whole, the totality is, man, it's a real thing.
Well,
it's a real thing. It's like I told you, this is a little more shallow, but since I'm honest, I'm just going to, I had to think about how much I wanted to win versus, well, all I have to do is contribute. If I contribute and we're winning, guys from the university that play my position get their shot.
Yeah.
I just need a chance.
And you're right.
That's at
the time in the 90s, guys that played your position at Nebraska were going to get a shot in the NFL, kind of regardless of if you played at all, basically.
Now, don't let me sit here and BS you and act like I didn't call home wanting to leave.
Yeah.
Because I did.
Sure.
Right? And my dad clearly was like, yeah, you can leave. Go ahead. You're just not coming home. So I was like, huh?
Yeah.
No, he was dead. No, he was dead dog serious.
Yeah.
And I could hear my mom in the background. She was like, Donald. And awkward silence. No, I thought he was going to say, no, I'm just kidding. Or,
just waiting for him to say anything.
Hey,
else.
Nobody said anything.
Yeah.
Just 15 seconds of silence.
Yeah.
Well, you can leave.
You're not coming here.
I was like, huh. All right.
Guess I'll stick it out.
No, I didn't say anything except for, all right, tell Mom I'll talk to her later. That's what I said. And it never came up again.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say if he would have said something different,
then you would
those things have shifted.
Yeah.
But in the moment, that's because I think that's what happens with the portal. There's 2 quarterbacks right now. there's 2 quarterbacks that left schools in the 500-mile radius.
Mhm.
And they landed at schools in the 500-mile radius. And one of them was about money, solely about money. The other guy, it was opportunity to play on what he feels is going to be a bigger stage. And I'll be curious to see the risk reward, because you always have to ask yourself in decision making when you do this portal thing, is the juice worth the squeeze? The problem is that's a little too linear for people that haven't had a ton of a variety of different juices. You know how we talked about popular juices the other day?
Yeah, yeah.
And listen,
if you've only drinking apple and orange, you don't know.
Listen, if you've only had this
cranberry.
stuff like I did out of the can, the concentrate, where you put the little frozen thing in there and you
run the water,
and you stir it, Sunny D may be the bomb for me. Oh, shoot, man.
You get a hold of a Capri Sun and your life has changed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I know what you
We
mean.
used to drink an Ectoblast High C or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So
first time I got my hands on a Gatorade, I was like, "Oh boy!"
So that's what people. That's what happens in the portal, and the money thing is, and this one quarterback. I'm trying not to give him away, but this one quarterback is going to make a substantial amount of money and play in what has historically not been a very good offense. And he has to ask himself, what will it take to keep me happy monetarily if I'm going to be miserable on the field? Like, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Because,
how much money do I need to be to decide to be miserable?
Yeah. People do that in their job all the time.
Until
listen,
a year ago, I did that all the time.
Adults
Yeah.
do it all the time.
Yeah. I'm 37 years old.
How much money will it take for me to do something that I don't really want to be doing?
Yeah.
But it's
worth
it. It pays the bills.
Yeah.
You think young people aren't going to be any worse? And we get so mad at him. That's why I don't understand why these people get so mad about the poor. I hate the poor. How many times you change jobs?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, seriously.
Yeah.
You think young people aren't going to be worse? So I think being handicapped, as my man Jay Nada would say, Damon, I'm going to handicap you with the facts.
Yeah.
And it's like
the burden of knowledge.
Yeah, I've stole that over the years.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just like when he talks about the confidence at the end and the totality of the student experience, he's still trying to do it old school. Now we'll see if he's right. But when they talk about development, they mean holistically.
Well, it helps too.
I mean, you're still talking about a guy that had to revamp, to really sit down with Dennis. I just talked to Dennis the other day at practice, and we were talking about like the growth and the maturation and how he's living his best life at this stage in his academics at Nebraska after cranking out all these academic All-Americans, and just the early foundation that they had to lay with putting most of the student athletes back in in-person classes and getting, facilitators and teachers and professors to be accommodating. I mean, you're basically revamping the student attendance policy post-COVID.
Yeah.
To get more people back in
classrooms.
And build the scheduling that accommodates the football schedule.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Right?
It's not easy.
And he's like, hey, listen, this is basically going to be boom or bust. We'll see.
Yeah, on the fly.
Yep. And it's paying dividends.
Yeah.
How few of off the field problems do these guys have?
I mean,
look at their team Jeep. Like,
it's pretty limited.
It's incredible.
You had
in this day and age of just tomfoolery and foolishness, right? Because you're investing in mental health. You're investing in business resources. You're involving the community. You're talking about things like IRAs and managing money and community service hours. You think they love community service hours?
Probably not.
No, they don't.
I didn't love them when I had to do them in college.
I didn't even know there was such a thing.
Yeah.
For as good a guy as people thought T.O. was, we weren't doing community service hours.
Yeah.
You just weren't.
You had too much football to do.
Well, yeah. With a more unlimited clock, too,
Yeah.
which didn't seem to make sense now.
Yeah.
But maybe that's why I'm a caveman and they're not. But he's also got a culture now that he's brewing where he can say, listen, we can start 5 safeties.
Yeah. We can start 6 corners.
I can start 6 corners.
Yeah.
Right? So
great players love competition.
They just do, man.
That's what I mean.
They just do. Now, I'm not gonna lie. My biggest takeaway was like he can start 5 safeties. I'm like, you're damn right you can.
Wonder why that's the case.
Say it for those in the back. No. But I say that to say because you can't. There is no magic that will happen until people can be comfortable in that situation.
Yeah, till you can be comfortable being competitive.
Yep. I can cheer for you. I may have to wait.
Yeah.
But I can cheer for you. Hey, man, go get yours. I'm going to get mine too.
Like
you're not going to win at a place like Nebraska against everything else that's going on in college athletics without some form of base regional philosophy. It's corny and as hokey as it sounds. The long-term sustainability at this university is built in. It's woven in the work.
It's part of the fabric.
It's woven in the work fabric.
Yeah.
It's the only reason we can sit here and lie to you and talk about, we don't have resources. There's always been a conflict of interest with NIL in the state of Nebraska because this is a state that rewards hard work.
Yeah.
This is a state that doesn't like to give away anything that they feel hasn't earned.
Also, especially haven't proven anything.
And listen, 1890 could function at a ridiculously high level with all these Fortune 500 companies. We're just fighting our own personality traits.
Yeah, it's true.
No, it's 100% true, and people don't want to talk about it. But that's what it is. Well, I don't want to give you anything. I could.
Yeah.
But it's just not the Nebraska thing.
Got to earn it first.
It's what we do.
We'll talk to Sam McKewon from the Omaha World Herald next.
Sasha Durkin here at Hurrdat Sports Bar. It is the finals of Menu Madness. Make sure that you come down, place your vote. It is down to the Philly cheesesteak sandwich and the buffalo chicken wrap. It is the last week, but the winner is 30% off for an entire month. So come down, cast your vote, and let's round up Menu Madness.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Anna Bellinghausen, Holly Rowe, and Avery Howard joining you now. Holly, you're in town in Omaha to speak to some high school students. Just why take this opportunity to give back to the youth?
because I was sitting in their shoes at one point. You know, I was waiting for my future to start and how do I get started? And there's so many different options. So I always feel like it's important to give back because I needed that advice and I needed ideas of how I could get started. And there were kind people who helped me. And so I want to be one of those people that's always giving back.
Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Every year you enter with a new team, a new coaching staff, probably, even if the coaches are coming back, they're all different, right? You know, so I think they're all making an impact. They're all providing a lot of input, all doing a nice job. We have a bunch of guys who work really hard. So I've been really pleased. Like I said, I think last week they've the strain on me is less because they handle their business, and and that's not to say that I'm just saying in general, like those guys there's a bunch of really, really professional guys who, I think I had to walk into the defense yesterday and be like, hey guys, like enough, get out of here. We have a lot of recruits in on Friday. That's different, but they were getting really prepared for today. So I really like the staff, really like the job they're doing. They're teaching, coaching, and you see the guys getting better.
We're back here for hour number 2 on Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined now by Sam McKewon from the Omaha World Herald. Sam, how are you this morning?
I am pretty good. How are you guys?
Sammy Mac, what's up, man? It's a little windy, little chilly this morning, man. Have you been on the move yet?
Not yet, but it's spring, So like those things are happening. And Nebraska, it was really windy this weekend. It was really windy. We were at Saturday sports all day with my son, and then my my wife and I's daughter had prom pictures.
Oh,
and
Lord.
So we this is a good story. This is a sports story in a way. Heart. This is a good. You'll like this one.
Okay.
And so we go out to Firethorn, which is where they had they were having the photos, and it was about 6:45 in the evening, and we were on the 18th green, and the 18th green is sort of it's a typical Pete Dye hole where there's a green and it's surrounded by moguls and there's bungers and all this stuff, and so we take the first round of the photos, and then there's another group, the final group of the evening, that's coming through to play 18. And so all the kids in their dresses, the girls in their dresses and the boys in their suits have to clear the fairway, and they hit their approach shots in. And there's a guy that's about 12 feet away for I think for birdie, and we all sort of give him a clap as he hits his shot, and then he comes up and he drains the putt. And this is probably, I don't know, it's right after the Masters had ended for Saturday, and so it was a very interesting moment where like sports and my personal life intertwined. It was pretty cool. But it was very windy out there taking the photos. The girls were having to do a whole bunch of stuff with their hair because of the wind.
Yeah. having been through one prom and not wanting to go through another with Zoe, I'm probably a little jealous of the fact, Sam, that you can chuckle and laugh your experience off. I hope to be able to do the same.
Well, it's it was fine. I mean, it was a lot of kids, but
are you a big curfew guy, Sam?
Our daughter stayed over at a friend's house, so there was no technical curfew. But prom runs pretty late.
Yeah,
so, like
after prom and stuff. Yeah,
right. So if you throw after prom in there, it's a pretty late little deal. So like it's not a.
Do you Lincolnites have after prom at said facility?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if they all do, but this school does. And so like if you and our curfew is not this for our daughter, but like if your curfew is like 11, prom's not even over. So it's one of those. And after prom hasn't even begun.
I think ours. So I think after prom got over at like 2 for us.
Yeah.
Like, so
it's a whole evening and a whole big thing, and so that's just the one night where you I don't know what you do. You say a prayer and cross your fingers. But anyway, it was fine. And it is what it is. It's homecoming's different. Homecoming, it's, the dance is over and then you go home and all the rest. But prom is special, and I think she had a pretty good time.
That's right. Prom was Cassio's. Homecoming was Denny's. That's the difference.
Okay.
That's at least in the 90s. Anywho.
Denny's. When you're talking about Denny's off of 84? Okay.
All right. Well, if it wasn't Denny's, it was Perkins. I mean, hey.
No, yeah.
Fancy.
The Denny's might still be there. If I was picking between the two, I think I'd probably lean Denny's, but other people would say Perkins.
Yeah, big chicken strips guy in the early 90s here, Sam.
Okay.
Big chicken strips guy. Hey, so I was talking to Ravi about this earlier, and everybody's got like their hot Masters takes, and I know you love golf, and I was talking to my buddy Mike this morning. So, and he made a nice distinction for me via text. He said, really good golfers in this part era of their life and their trade aren't thinking about how a putt can cost them, about $210,000, right? Or moving 4 places in a finish can cost you, $400,000. But Sam, can you imagine just standing over 4 and 5 footers, knowing that? I mean, you can go from $700K to $76K in a matter of mere minutes. At what point do you get to that as a golfer where you're that good where it's just not a thing?
When you're Rory and you're Scotty Scheffler and you're, goodness, Xander Schauffele and you're Jordan Spieth. Like, there's not that many golfers where when they stand over those putts, it's legacy and it's not money. Like, a lot of those guys, obviously they're very wealthy, but like, it's not chump change. I think Max Homa, a golfer I really like, he had to make a putt, I think, to get in the top 12, which gets you back to the Masters next year. But also there's a nice monetary bonus to that. And there's guys that can, if they have a big week, can make kind of their whole week off of. Now, the live golf thing makes it more different because the live golf guys are given like almost like a salary. Like, they have a bunch of money that they signed for.
Yeah, like a guarantee.
And so like Bryson DeChambeau probably has more money than Rory McIlroy, although Rory's won more. So Bryson would be another one. Koepka, Rahm. There's about 20 guys that are playing for basically legacy every time they go out. But there's a lot of other guys that are playing for money because they're making a living. Now, they use the phrase making a living, and I get that. Damon, you probably understand this. Every sport at a professional level has a certain standard of living.
Yeah.
And like, you can try to buck that trend in golf, certainly. But that's not easy. And so, like, when you're a professional athlete, people say, well, why do they spend all their money? I'm like, well, you got to understand the world that they live in.
Yeah.
They can't.
That's true.
Everything's just more expensive. Everything.
Yeah. And it's all relative. Like,
and quietly,
you're paying for other people's stuff.
Yeah. And quietly, even though there are those huge ranges, like from a free agent contract in Carolina to, watching Kerry Collins, there's this thing where you feel like you're competing, if nothing more than with yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
With whatever that's the standard that you're talking about is.
Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting dynamic. So a lot of those guys are there for the money because the Masters pays out really well at certain finishes. So making the cut is a big deal because you make money. Mm. And so, like, people who love golf, which I do, are watching Friday afternoon, Friday evening. And if you watch the golf broadcast on Friday afternoon, Friday evening, they're showing guys that are 9 or 11 strokes behind because they're trimming the cut.
Mm.
And a lot of times they'll be showing the legends because they want the legends to make the cut for the weekend because it helps their early broadcast windows. Mm. Like for the U.S. Open, they want to be able to show Phil Mickelson at 1 p.m. on 15. He's not going to win the tournament, but you want to be able to show somebody, and people, not me per se, but people will tune in, to watch so-and-so and such at that time of day. So, it's important. But, Rory yesterday, I mean, that was extraordinary to watch because that really was a 5-shot victory that he turned into a playoff. I mean, that everybody fell away. I know Justin Rose had a good day, but but Rory easily could have been 15 under and just sort of walked away with the win. But he hit 2 shots that were among the 2 greatest shots that I've seen in the Masters history, and 2 of the worst shots that you could hit given the moment. So he hit 2 of the worst and he hit 2 of the best.
So
and it kind of evened out.
Not to take you to task, but for the GOAT status, which 2? The approach on 13?
The bad ones?
No, the 2 good ones.
Well, it was 16.
15.
15.
The shot at 15.
Where he,
the
where he
perfect.
shapes it,
Yep,
where he
yep,
shapes
yeah,
it around the tree.
Okay.
The amount of risk that went into that shot and what it meant in that
With the
moment
water right
was,
there. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a shot that very easily could have ended up in the water, and it would have ended the tournament.
Right after he had double bogeyed, right? That was the next hole.
Mm-hmm.
2.
Right. Well, no,
two down.
he doubled 13,
Yeah.
and then he bogeyed 14.
Okay, so he had lots,
Yeah.
3 holes, 3 strokes over 2 holes, and then he hits that shot.
Yeah, and I've been watching the Masters for 40 years, and I'll just, again, I have a very, very good memory, so I remember the shots, and the Sandy Lyle shot from the bunker is certainly a way up there, but it was an incredible shot. And then the playoff,
Well, I think Tiger had 3 in one tournament.
Well, Tiger had a chip in that you would consider among and that's when he beat DeMarco.
Is that the one that hung
but
on
what's
the lip?
interesting is he chipped in on 16 and he bogeyed 17, I think.
It wasn't DeMarco.
And so it was
playoffs.
yeah, it was 16 and it wasn't in a playoff. He might have. I don't think he beat DeMarco in a playoff.
Yeah,
Maybe
it was. He's going back a few years to I think it was Rocco Mediate.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, DeMarco
and he made like the 14 or 15 foot putt just to get it.
No, Rocco was.
That was a
Rocco
long
was
time
the
ago.
US Open.
Yeah, it was. I know. I'm just talking the tournament that Robbie's talking about in
I was
my
thinking
head.
of a different one.
Yeah, not that.
Right.
I was just going down Masters Lane.
Yeah, if you're thinking about the greatest moments in golf history, the 08 U.S. Open is. I don't know. People can debate that all day. I think that's the greatest Tiger moment. Other people would say it's 97 or the Tiger Slam, but the most riveting 3 total days of golf was from the Saturday to the Monday with Tiger. I mean, that U.S. Open, those 3 days, but yesterday's round was among the most riveting. Maybe 04 Mickelson. That was probably the most riveting final round of the Masters since Nicklaus. 86. Like it was.
Sam,
it was,
I was sweating and I had no skin in the game.
Yeah.
But I got to ask you though, because and you know me, this is what I'm most interested in is the whole mental thing, the overcoming and staying in the moment and maximizing the mind. When's the last time you remember somebody that talented doing something that gave you that range of mental acuity, I guess.
Right. English.
In such, broad ranges, right? I mean, he went from a 0 of mental toughness to a 12 in 30 minutes. Like what? Do you remember ever seeing anything like that?
Oh, I'd have to go.
I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment, but I'm talking the bottom of something emotionally. And 20 minutes later, it was like, how about the Stones? And then 20 minutes later, as you just wobbled that 4-footer, it was incredible.
It was rare. And so there's probably been a few things in my life that I can think back on that were like that. But no, it's hard to, it's hard to process a little bit. I think it was amazing to watch. I will say that it was a lot of fun to witness and watching with my parents, which was fun. And he mentioned that he doubled the first hole, and he said that actually helped because it got him, shook him out of his nerves a little bit. And I thought that was a thoughtful comment because he had a lot of pressure coming in.
Well, he's ridiculously forthright.
Yeah, he is. And to be clear, like his best moments of the day is when he didn't have a lead. or he had to make something happen. That's when he was at his best. He had to go and take it. The shot on 13 was one of the largest strategic mistakes I've ever seen a golfer make. Obviously people who know that hole and know him know that he should have gone for it, and he should have gone for it in 2. And you know what? The worst thing that could have happened if he had gone for it in 2, he could have put it, he would have put it in the back bunker. He would have splashed out, and he probably would have parred it. And then he would have had a 4-stroke lead and gone on his merry way. That's the most treacherous hole in some ways in golf because of the mistake that he made. And so, once he made that decision, then I thought he was going to right the ship. He did. And then the thing on 18 was the same deal, where all you really need to do is put that ball on the top shelf in the back of the green and 2-putt down and just trust your putter. And, he tried to make a perfect shot, which ended up in the bunker. And then when he did the playoff hole again, he had to hit a perfect shot because Justin Rose was pretty close in, and he did hit a perfect shot. He hit one of the greatest shots at 18 that we've ever seen with the same club that he just hit. So it was that, the shot at 15 and the second shot in the playoff at 18 was, people won't forget those. And again, they're among the greatest shots in Masters history. The Tiger chip in obviously is up there. The Sandy Lyle shot in whatever year that was, 87, 88, to beat Mark Calcavecchia is up there. The Larry Mize shot to win to beat Greg Norman's up there. But
we get a calc reference. All right.
He did. He beat Mark Calcavecchia. Sandy Lyle did. And then the Bubba shot in the playoff.
Oh, the shapeshifter.
Yeah. And that was I'm not the biggest Bubba Watson fan, but that was a memorable moment.
What do you have against Waffle House, Sam? You already bashed Denny's and Perkins. I ain't not a Waffle House guy.
I don't have anything against Waffle. I love Waffle.
Hey, let me ask you. Speaking of like mental toughness and mental notes, surprised a little bit that Coach Rhule took some time to be so candid about the portal and kind of how that was a topic of discussion on Saturday. I thought it was extremely enlightening.
Yeah, no, I was not surprised he was candid. He's been pretty candid about that topic for years now. And so he's I think that candidness is part of his toolkit to navigating the portal.
Yeah.
He's very good at being able to be straightforward. And if you give everybody, if you lay it out in an honest way and you put the ball back in the court of the kid, or, in this case, the football back in play, you let that player make the best decision that they think they can make. Now, the thing that he didn't push this too hard, but I think one of the things he talks about with the players is, now, listen, you may get a little bit more money over there, but remember the things that you get here. And so there's things at Nebraska that are pretty sweet, but when you go somewhere else, it's not the same. And I'm not saying it adds up to $100,000, but it does add up. Like, consider the training table at Nebraska versus what Kentucky or what some other school is going to give you. Consider the training facilities. Consider the perks you get at Nebraska. Consider some of the NIL opportunities that you will get here but wouldn't get there. Like, there's all kinds of things that you can start to fit in that. Look, consider the notoriety you'll have. Some guys don't want notoriety. Some guys want to go to Syracuse, where you're second fiddle to the basketball team. Some guys, they get to Nebraska and they're like, yeah, you know what? Too much of a fishbowl. I want to go somewhere else where maybe I don't have to. Maybe I'm just I'm at a smaller school where football isn't as big of a deal, and I don't feel like I got to be somewhere all the time. Like, you kind of lay it out for everybody. They're probably going to lose a defensive back in the portal, probably not this week, but next week, that they probably don't want to lose, because the reality is they're not all going to play. So, that's going to happen. I think Rhule is well equipped to handle it. And, that's life. Would you have wanted Emmett Johnson or Dante Dowdell? Because they probably weren't going to keep both. And I think they kind of knew that.
Sam,
and so
go ahead.
They got Emmett. Emmett went into the portal first, right? Then they got him out of there, and then Dante went into the portal. So I think they kind of knew they might lose one of them.
And I don't know. I think what Dante was like, look, we just told you. Now you're going to do this? Like, that happened pretty quick. And they're like, okay, you can chase it if you want, but you did rush for double-digit touchdowns here. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, you're not getting good information. But I thought it was interesting. I thought it was interesting on the heels of what Coach Holgerson said about, hey, you're afforded some things here that you're not going to get at some other places. Like, go ask Hunter. And I get it. Cal may not be the prime example, but Holgerson is considered very worldly.
He's been
and very honest. So didn't matter what example he's used. He's not some guy that needs to have his hand out. So when he tells you that there are things that are here that are unique in terms of opportunities and what it provides, to have it doubled down on by Coach Rhule, the next media availability, you almost you get the sense that the players are pretty appreciative too, because it doesn't seem like those guys are chomping at the bit to want to leave either.
Agreed. I think there's a pretty wide appreciation among the players for what Nebraska offers and the people who are there. I do. I don't know if it's always been that way, but I do get the sense that, I do get that sense. And when I say I don't know that it's always been that way, like I mean that. Like I think the players pretty much liked Bo.
It hasn't been this competitive probably since then, though. So you need something else to offset that. You know what I mean? Like that's my like if I was these guys, and it's highly competitive, and he says, "Listen, 5 safeties could start here. You better have." I immediately think of the running back room in the 90s. You better have something else that you're hanging your hat on, other than needing to be the man if you're going to stick around. You know what I mean? And it's got to be love of one another, loving of where you are, like it truly being family. Nobody really wants to leave their family that likes their family, right? It's like, oh man, it's pretty good here, right? So it just seems like they're building in these not contingencies, but these things that are
like guardrails almost.
Yeah, that make it cool to compete while you're here, because this is what here is. So embrace all of it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think they've developed a perfectly good culture down there. I certainly think that's happened, and I think there's a positivity that I appreciate, and I think he's getting the kind of work that he wants from his players, and I think I think he probably wouldn't say it quite like this, but I think he likes this staff and the expertise they bring to the table, and maybe some of the pressure that they take off of him. Because there's just fewer guys that are doing it for the first time or younger. This is a little bit more seasoned and experienced group that's operating. So, I think all those things are true. They got to keep coming. And I think they've got to navigate the portal here in the next week or two and live with maybe some of what may happen. I mean, again, there's going to be a guy or two that you just really didn't want to lose.
Yeah.
And you lose them. They've lost some people from the portal, from the team in the last couple of years that they didn't want to lose, right? Wandale Robinson, there you go. Wandale was the guy that you wouldn't have wanted to lose. And as it turned out, Luke McCaffrey was another one, although he didn't play quarterback when he went to Rice. There's some examples of players that over the years Nebraska felt bad about losing. That may happen again. You just have to kind of live with it. And, I don't know that they loved losing Lloyd, about last year's team. I think he'll have a nice He'll have a nice season at Oklahoma State. I wish he'd have stuck around. But he's got to make the decision that's best for him, and he did. And meanwhile, Nebraska's got some young guys that might be as good as Lloyd was last year. Mills and Mosey might be just as good. We'll have to see. And then they seem to like Isaiah Hunter a lot, which is encouraging. He needs to be a good player. I'm sure he wasn't free.
Sam, as you kind of look through not just what he talked about in terms of the transfer portal, but also about the competitiveness in the room or in the different rooms, is that how encouraged are you by that? Are you encouraged by that? Does that move your needle at all? Is it a thing that a coach just says? Like, how do you process that? Because when I hear it, I get pretty excited about, hey, you've actually got some options rather than sort of being backed into a corner in terms of guys that you have to play regardless of if they're meeting other expectations?
I think as it relates to, where you would measure Nebraska versus, 6 or 7 years ago, yes, I think it's encouraging. How you would measure Nebraska against the rest of the Big Ten, that's the key,
Yeah.
And as I said on the Pick Six podcast last week, I kind of do these Big Ten look-ins all the time, right? So I've watched a lot of press conference video. I watch a lot of, whatever they'll show us of practice tape or spring games or all this stuff. And I'm just telling you, the Big Ten's going to be good. It's the teams on Nebraska's schedule, with maybe the exception of one or two, are going to be pretty good. The jury's out on UCLA because we don't know if they're going to get the Tennessee quarterback, and they might. They very well might. The jury's not really out on USC. They feel really good about where they're at. And they're probably going to be a little better than last year. Michigan State's going to be better. Michigan could be way better. I mean, Michigan was already pretty good last year toward the end of the season. Minnesota, we'll see. Maryland, the jury's out. We don't exactly know. Penn State's going to be national title contenders. They might be the number one team in the country. People are telling me it's going to be Ohio State. I'm like, okay, all right, we'll see. I think Penn State might be the better team. There's so many good teams on the schedule that Nebraska has to go into every single offseason thinking, here's what we did. Here's our internal standard. We've either met or exceeded that internal standard. Now you got to look around and go, okay, how do we match up against everybody else? And you go into that off season, thinking about the last 4 minutes of that Iowa game, when a game that you had controlled from the very beginning until 5 minutes into the fourth quarter slips through your hands because you lost the line of scrimmage. Your offensive line couldn't protect the quarterback. You have to go into off seasons haunted by that stuff. That stuff has to drive you. Just like Rory McIlroy was driven by some of the things that happened in correcting some of those things. Nebraska has to be driven by the one or two moments that they wish that they could have changed last year against Illinois, against Iowa, certainly against USC, a game that I would just watch again and I'm like, Nebraska should have won that game.
Hey,
There's so many things
can I just say something, Sam? I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
I was so sick of hearing about what SC did, and the watching that game was all about Nebraska, right? Outside, I did love the little gap scheme and the inside zone stuff that they were doing with Marks. I thought that was pretty good, but Nebraska makes a couple of plays in that game early, and I'm not even talking about anything paramount. I'm talking about either catch the ball, knock a ball down, or get a guy to the ground, or don't fall asleep and flip and cover three. That game's different. That quarterback's accuracy was atrocious early, and they let his ass off the hook. I couldn't believe that people are misremembering how that game actually went.
Well, I had to watch it again because, I think USC did some good things in that game. They did outrun Nebraska. I mean, they ran the ball better than Nebraska did.
Yeah.
But,
Marks was a handful. I was glad when he took a break. And they had the little cute play on fourth down that I thought was pretty saucy, too.
But I think
it was very good.
QB had 5 or 6 interceptable balls in the first 3 drives.
Yeah,
he did. And, so when you go back and look at that game and you're just like, Nebraska should have won that game. I don't think they outplayed UCLA. I think UCLA outplayed them.
Well, there was a stretch for UCLA and for about a quarter and a half where Nebraska just couldn't adjust to the concepts, right? And that's where they benched Charles early. And then they had another corner fall asleep for the exact same route on a little beater. And I'm like, come on. But the concepts with the he made some throws in that game where those things were just on. UCLA played really, really well for a good quarter and a half. I'm like, you got to tip your cap. You have to really tip your cap.
Yeah. And that was, I think, fortunately, that was the game where Matt Rhule realized we got to do something different on offense because, and he tried to say, well, we were trying to go slow on purpose. And I'm like, okay. That's fine. Their offense moved like sludge. So everything has to be matched against, we've done this and we've met this internal standard now. how do we match up against our peers? If they were in the Big 12, I'd say, well, hey, they match up great. You know, let's sign Nebraska up for the Big 12 title game against pick the team. I don't even know, Kansas State, but they're not in the Big 12, so they don't get the luxury of playing, you know, a Cincinnati every week, or hey, let's go down and play, you know, Houston or West Virginia that has some sort of substandard roster. They have to go play teams that have a lot of money. And I mean, again, as I've tried to tell people, okay, you can poo-poo USC and UCLA all you want, and people have tried to do that. I'm like, but look at the way that those teams have come in and played Nebraska in a variety of sports.
Yeah.
And you're not going to tell me those athletic departments don't have athletes. They've come in and they've kicked Nebraska's butt. So, like, those schools have been legit in the sports that Nebraska cares about, with the exception, I guess, of volleyball. But, like, they're good. Like USC and UCLA baseball, they're going to the Big Ten tournament. UCLA might win the league in its first year. Like, these are not joke teams. So, like, Nebraska needs, and their fans need to get in gear and say, hey, lost 2 in football, went 1-5 in baseball, went 1-1 in men's basketball, 0-2 in women's basketball. These programs know what they're doing, and Nebraska's got to take itself up a notch, which, you know, I think they will. But that's part of the key, is that you got to match yourself against your competitors.
That's Sam McKewon, Omaha World Herald. Sam, great stuff as always. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Sam.
Take care. Bye.
That's Sam McKewon, Omaha World Herald.
We went a lot of places.
We did. We were
Weather, Masters, prom.
You know, don't forget about Denny's and homecoming.
I'm just saying.
You just out here?
It's where the magic happens. I got to get the 6 cornerbacks, though.
We could go through that exercise. See where we get.
Yeah. I'm a little miffed.
Color you intrigued?
Yeah.
That's
I think I can get to a good 5.
That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We'll see if we can get to 6 coming up next year on Hurrdat Sports Live.
I want to talk a little Husker football as well. You're 3 under Matt Rhule. I feel like time's flown by with him, but we saw a bowl win first since 2016. What impressed you about that team, and how did you feel about the season?
Well, I think I was a little disappointed, but I think we all kind of wanted more in year 2. But I think that's just a competitor in me. I do believe that Matt Rhule is doing a tremendous job, and I think he's on track for the things that he's done in the past at other programs, and really just have to respect the process a little bit. He's a tremendous coach, and I think he really cares about the players. He's navigating through some difficult times with NIL and the portal and how that all is going to be working. And so I think he's doing a really good job. And, it's a different day and age in college football, but I think with Matt and with his wife, Julie, we just got a really great family there to support in Lincoln and with the football program. And we're just lucky to have them here in Nebraska.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Give me that cheddar, we getting Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot
Sasha Durkin here at Hurrdat Sports Bar. It is the finals of Menu Madness. Make sure that you come down, place your vote. It is down to the Philly cheesesteak sandwich and the buffalo chicken wrap. It is the last week, but the winner is 30% off for an entire month. So come down, cast your vote, and let's round out Menu Madness.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Yeah, we could start 6 different guys at corner right now. We could start 4 or 5 different guys at safeties, and so one of them might say like, well, if I'm not the starter, I'm going in the portal. So that might change in the next week or so. But for the most part, great players love competition. We're going to play some dime. We're going to play some, like we talked about advancing the third down stuff. We're not going to just sit there in the 3-3 and we're going to put 5 corners on the field at times, 5 safeties. I mean, I want different groupings out there. I want a ton of guys playing. I want to play more than, I want to make it to the college football playoff. I want to play 15, 16 games a year, and you need a lot of guys to do that. Most importantly, I want the guys in our program to be getting bigger, faster, stronger, mastering their mindset, mastering their lives. And so, we're going to continue to develop those guys. So I think we have a ton of guys here that can play. The depth in the secondary, I think, is really, really, really strong.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Make sure you get out here and check out the April specials. And they still have that fish and chips going
Fridays
through the end of Lent. That's just last week.
Yeah, I know.
We got Easter on Sunday.
I know. Are you cooking?
No, I'm not cooking.
I don't mean you.
Oh.
I meant the actual cook in the house.
I don't know.
Are you a ham guy, a lamb guy, or you don't do Easter?
Ham typically.
Ham.
Ham.
Why do you say it like that?
Ham.
I have a leg.
We usually do lamb for Christmas.
I have a leg of lamb.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. But
I
also
do the whole family deal.
I also am craving a good ham, though.
I enjoy a good ham.
I'm not one of those people that hates on ham.
No, ham's good.
I think it's pretty good.
Nice honey glazed. I know you don't like sweet meat.
No.
I enjoy a nice honey glazed ham.
No, of course you do. You're all about the glaze.
That's prefer it.
Team glaze.
Sometimes you need,
we're out here,
need
right?
A little extra flavor. So we were trying to get to 6 corners and 5 safeties. You think you can get to the 5 safeties?
Yep. 5 safeties are fair. I will go.
Well, let me go through. You just tell me yes or no.
Okay.
I'm gonna go through the list. All right.
Yep.
I assume Barnes is not on the list either way.
No.
Okay. Benning, one of the safeties.
Yes.
All right. Branch, no. Little Buford.
He's a wild card.
Okay. Maybe one of the corners.
Yeah, he's a wild card.
Okay. We'll put a little pin on Little Buford. Big Buford, one of the safeties.
Correct.
Okay. So we're at 2 safeties and half of a corner. Jeremiah Charles.
In there.
Wild card.
Corner.
As a corner. Khan. Jameer.
When healthy.
Yeah.
Could be. He's tiny.
Yeah. Light.
Yes.
Because he's pretty tall.
He's like 175 maybe.
Yeah.
He is elite level change of direction.
Corner, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe needs a little time to bulk up.
Yeah.
But he's a junior already.
Yeah, he's got some tools though.
Yeah.
He's just not active.
Yeah.
Yeah, just not active right now.
So we're at like one full safety maybe between 3, or one full corner maybe between 3.
Are we doing corners or safeties?
Both. We're doing both.
Okay.
We got 2 safeties for sure in Benning and Big Buford. We've got half a Little Buford, half a Charles, and half a Khan.
I think Charles is in the hunt.
Okay, so
I'll put Charles in the 6.
One corner or one guy in for corners.
Yeah.
Let's see. D'Onofrio, Guthrie, Hartzog, safety.
Safety.
Bly Hill. This one's really interesting because he, at this time last year, was basically a starter.
For right now, I'll say no.
Okay. So we're going to stick with the one corner so far.
Yeah.
Donovan Jones, yes?
Yes.
In at corner, that's 2. Andrew Marshall.
Yes.
3.
Yes.
In at corner. So we're at 3 and 3. Let's see who else we got. Kamir Prescott, Braylon Prude, Justin Rhett.
Kind of like him.
We're going to put him in the mix at safety?
If it's 5, I say yes.
Okay, we'll call it 5. He said 4
because he said 4 or 5.
So we'll call it 5.
Yeah.
So that's 4. Sanders in at corner.
Like him. I'd put him in the 6.
That's 4. 4 of each now. Singleton's a safety.
Yep.
That's our 5.
Yep.
For safety.
Yep.
All right, so we're at 4 at corner. Ramir Stewart, Tarver.
I'm going to put him in.
Okay, Tarver is our 5.
I'm going to put him in. And Sierra Wright makes 6.
And then Sierra Wright makes 6. What about like a Bryce Turner? Wild card?
Long, can run. He's so long. I don't know about BT. He's fast. He's a tall drink of water, too. Can he change directions? Maybe.
Get those hips loosened up a little bit?
Maybe.
It's a problem Deshaun had.
Yeah. I even think, even Donovan, who's extremely long, like he's deceptively big.
Yeah.
So all those guys you can tweak a little, you know. Yeah. I give me one more that I could be missing.
That's all of them. We're at the end of the list.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's right.
Bryce Turner we put Bryce Turner as a wild card, Buford as a wild card,
and Prude,
and Braylon Prude as a wild card.
Yeah.
So we got 6 corners.
He can play some fellas though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I mean,
and you know, because
some
some guys, I could see some guys being big nickels,
sure.
or
kind of like Giffords,
or the 6th dime.
Yeah.
You know, like if you can play if you can play the boundary safety and a rover spot, you can play a nickel and dime.
Yeah.
You know, I think Butler's on the 17th. So if any of our media guys are listening, he may not give you individual players.
Like names, yeah.
But you know what I would say? I'd say, hey, listen, like what's the difference? You've talked about 3 safeties, and like what's the difference between a post safety or the field or the rover where you can let him like gush over talking football, and it will give us an idea too.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we don't know.
No, we really don't.
We talk as though we know.
We don't typically differentiate between, you know, a field safety or a boundary safety or a rover or a nickel or a dime, or even you want to get to corners, you want to talk about, you know, like an inside corner, a slot corner versus a boundary corner. And like we don't often make those distinctions, mostly because we probably don't know, which is fine. But we have an opportunity.
It'll help us have these conversations going forward because then everybody will kind of have the same picture.
And I think we'll have the opportunity to learn and give us a chance to ask some questions, because I do think Butler, as we've talked, is a little bit of a philosopher, can be.
Yeah.
And I think if you don't put him in a place where he has to handicap his roster in terms of being like, well, I've got these guys here and these guys there, and he can just talk about it from an abstract football standpoint, I think we could learn a lot.
Yeah.
Give ourselves an opportunity to get a little better.
You want to be able to, you can just tell. I mean, they've talked it into existence all offseason, being multiple, affecting the quarterback, pre-snap, player packages. He just dropped in that little nugget. Hey, I just don't want to sit back in a 3-3. I want to be able to, you know, this thing is going to be predicated on confusion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you can do it with personnel groups, it's all the better.
I do wonder if people were surprised by his level of comfortability with the defensive backs, because they've been talked about a lot.
They've been good.
Yeah.
They've been good. It's just a gut, but some of it is a dad, some of it is a coach. But I'm like, it'll reveal itself. I don't know why we're panicking.
Yeah.
It's the easiest position for it to reveal itself.
Well, and I know sometimes, I think part of it is we get nervous about the number of guys back there.
Yeah.
But I think most of us would say if we just go through an exercise like we just did, I think most of us would say, "Oh, I like that guy. I like." There's a bunch of guys.
I was pleasantly surprised to hear him say, "We have 4 or 5 safeties that could start."
Yeah,
because
could start,
and it's not because of Caleb. It's primarily because they've shown me. That shows me, just because you're an incumbent doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. One, what have we talked about? You always talk about coaching yourself into options.
Yeah, you want options.
Right?
You want options.
Especially in this transfer portal era. And we're sitting here watching Tennessee go through this at a much more high-profile position with Nico Yamaleva. And you go, okay, has Josh Heupel coached himself into options? I don't know if he has or not, but he certainly –
we let him walk pretty easy.
I'll say he certainly felt okay about letting him go.
Let me tell you something about – this is what I said about NIL too. Now, I could end up being wrong about that. But with name, image, and likeness and the portal, I've always maintained that it's two-edged. It forces coaches to be better evaluators and be who they say they're going to be. And it also allows players to get their ass kicked out the door.
Yeah.
Right? So
as you want the money, you want the
as
mobility.
Coach Rhule famously said, the portal giveth and it taketh away.
Yeah.
So I love that. Good will come from Nico. Coaches, the lesson learned from this is do what you say you're going to do and spend your money wisely.
And you don't have to be held hostage.
No, you don't.
Like, it doesn't matter who it is.
Good will come out. This isn't the end of the world. You know, people, oh, man, these players leave. Let them.
Yeah.
Let them. Let them go.
You think you're going to be better off with a freshman who had a nice but not great year?
And I'm telling you, coaches will get better at choosing.
Like,
that's the unintended consequence.
You think your roster is better off being held hostage by a guy?
Yeah.
Like, you think you'll be a better football team being held hostage by a guy?
Exactly.
Because the answer most times is going to be no.
Yeah. And you'll take a look at what you're readily willing to give somebody.
Now, I will say, I don't know how much you read about the backstory with like Nico's dad and his agent and all that kind of stuff. There is a part of me that feels a little bad for Nico because it seems like some of this.
He's going to get caught in the crossroads.
Yeah, it seems like some of this was decided by people
and you can't choose
him.
your parents.
Can't choose your parents. Probably could have chosen his agent, but I think his dad chose the agent too. And it seems like a lot of this was done and Nico wasn't necessarily hyper involved. That being said, at some point at 18, 19, 20 years old, you can make a decision to say, no, Dad, I'm going to go to practice today.
Yeah, I get it, but that's a lot harder.
It's tough.
It's a lot harder.
That's why I feel for Nico a little bit. I really do.
Yeah.
Because I think his family put him in a bad spot. And I've seen on a much smaller scale, I've seen people do this. I've seen parents do this.
Oh, yeah.
Where they put their kid in a bad spot when their kid has a shot.
Yeah. There's one kid who he didn't cost us, but he made it much tougher to win a state championship. And well, 2 of the guys, and both of them wanted to come to Westside and just weren't going to deal with the parents.
Yeah. And
we paid for it on the back end.
On the field.
But it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's this
probably much more of an enjoyable experience.
People bring that up to me when I talk about Dan Hurley all the time. They're like, "Oh, you'd take him at Creighton?" No, I wouldn't. Like, I will sacrifice whatever upside I think Dan Hurley brings me, or Urban Meyer when they were talking about him in Nebraska, or whatever. I will sacrifice that for enjoying the team I'm around. Like, I will give that up. If I think
I bet you do have a threshold, though.
Listen, I don't want to be bad.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Right?
I mean,
it's easier to say when you're going to three 16s in 4 years than it is when you've never made the second weekend. I get that. Right? There is a threshold of like, hey, I will, but this experience to me is enjoyable enough. I'm not going to sacrifice having to deal with Dan Hurley on a daily basis to see if I can get a little more. Like, that's what we started the show talking about. Like, how much can you be miserable with? Right?
That's such a I mean, the reality of it is people do look at life like that, but doesn't that seem kind of sad?
It seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right? It's not how much can I be happy with. A lot of times it's how much can I be miserable with. And whether it's Dan Hurley, whether it's getting held hostage by a quarterback, whether it's Urban Meyer or whoever else, like, there's a certain threshold for most people that say, hey, the juice is not worth the squeeze. This is not worth it for me. And if players get to say that, then Josh Heupel gets to say it too. He says, yeah, Nico, you're not worth the squeeze anymore, bud.
People will pay closer attention.
This has been going on since December.
Going forward.
Since December, they've been actively shopping him.
Yeah. People will pay closer. What am I getting at this investment?
And
People will just be smarter spenders. And that's what you want.
Especially when you're okay. Nico's a really interesting situation because what more would you really ask for from your situation if you're Nico? I get we're not in Tennessee, so there's going to be some of the intricacies we aren't aware of. But you played in college football playoff last year, right? You had a pretty good season. You started all year. You're getting paid north of $2 million. 2.4 is the number that's out there. What else are you really wanting there? Like, you're in an offense that's very quarterback friendly.
Yeah.
You know, you got Joe Milton to put up numbers in that offense. You think that Nico can't put up numbers in that? Like, you're in a very QB friendly offense.
Although I've said this from the jump. You guys like Nico a lot more than I ever did.
Well, I mean, for whatever Nico is, like, that's not even the point here, right?
Depends. Why? At some point it is.
Well,
at some point it is.
Sure. And maybe Josh Heupel's not as high on Nico as everybody else is either.
That's the thing, because at some point it's totally in the realm of mattering, because how much am I willing to put up with?
Sure. Yeah.
That's a real thing.
But my point is, even if the upside is what some think it is for Nico.
And I liked Heupel's press conference.
Yeah.
I said, hey,
I thought Heupel handled this really well.
I'm just going to address the elephant in the room.
Yeah. I thought Heupel handled it really well. I did. But my point is, even if you think the upside is whatever it could be, first round draft pick, whatever, and even if you think that's who Nico is, there's still a point of you where you're like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
That's my point. It's because I bet there are people within Tennessee's program that think Nico's a first rounder. And they're like, yeah, we're not doing this. That's even more sort of either damning of the way Nico and his people have handled the situation, or sort of the conviction that Heupel has of like,
it's like these power couples, right? That everybody fawns over the guy or gal in their relationship, and they split up, and it's like, yeah, at some point everybody gets sick of anyone's crap.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Oh, he's so dreamy. Yeah, but he's a Richard Head.
Yeah.
Man, have you seen her? Yeah, she's high maintenance. Like, I get it.
Yeah, there's always something else, right? And you go, okay, can I get? And if I'm Josh Heupel, I go, okay, well, if I can turn Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton into really productive quarterbacks in my system, like maybe, like I probably don't need Nico. Like, it's a nice luxury item.
I'm just hoping,
but I can get this thing done with 6-round quarterbacks.
The minute I saw it, I was like, good. Everybody in the short term, people were like, see, this is what's happening with college football. No, you let it.
Yeah.
Right. You want these things to take on a little bit water so you can build a balance. Yeah, so you can build a better boat.
It needs to find its balance. And if you're sitting there and you're Josh Heupel, even if you think Nico's a first rounder, even if you think he's future number one overall pick, and you're going, okay, I weathered this thing with you in December and January when you shopped him the first time.
Yep.
And we let it go. We're like, okay, listen, that's kind of the time we were at. We came with a competitive offer. You're making north of $2 million. We're cool now, right? And they're like, no, we're going to keep shopping again. There's a point. We see this with everything, right? There's a point.
And pay attention to what coach will take this on.
That's really interesting because I don't know. Sam brought this up with UCLA. I don't know that Deshaun Foster's that guy.
It'll tell you a lot about what coach will take this on.
We don't know a ton about Deshaun Foster. Did anything really say to you that he would want this?
No.
Right.
No.
The way that he was building that team around toughness and like that mentality, Nico does not seem like a good fit.
Yeah. No, I get it.
And that's going to be really interesting.
Or K-State. I'm like,
Kleiman's not going to deal with that.
Ain't doing this.
And did K-State have $4 million?
I don't know. No.
For a quarterback?
Maybe it might not take that.
Well, he is unemployed now.
That's tough.
The job market may have reset for Nico. Hey, the economy's tough on everybody right now.
It's tough out here.
Coming up, we're going to talk to Ryan Ballangee. He is the owner of Golf News Net. Want to wrap up our conversation about Rory, the Masters, and the whole thing. That's DB. I'm Ravi, Lulla. More Hurrdat Sports Live coming up next.
want to talk a little Husker football as well. You're 3 under Matt Rhule. I feel like time's flown by with him, but we saw a bowl win first since 2016. What impressed you about that team, and how did you feel about the season?
Well, I think I was a little disappointed, but I think we all kind of wanted more in year 2. But I think that's just a competitor in me. I do believe that Matt Rhule is doing a tremendous job, and I think he's on track for the things that he's done in the past at other programs, and really just have to respect the process a little bit. He's a tremendous coach, and I think he really cares about the players. He's navigating through some difficult times with NIL and the portal and how that all is going to be working, and so I think he's doing a really good job. And it's a different day and age in college football, but I think with Matt and with his wife Julie, we just got a really great family there to support in Lincoln and with the football program, and we're just lucky to have them here in Nebraska.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Durkin here at Hurrdat Sports Bar. It is the finals of Menu Madness. Make sure that you come down, place your vote. It is down to the Philly cheesesteak sandwich and the buffalo chicken wrap. It is the last week, but the winner is 30% off for an entire month. So come down, cast your vote, and let's round out Menu Madness.
Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Underneath one limb, rises and turns over. 7 iron, 207.
6 iron yesterday, set up an eagle. Is this enough? It is. Oh, here it comes. The shot of a lifetime.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. We're joined now by Ryan Ballangee from Golf News Net, owner of Golf News Net. What's up, Ryan?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
This is a lot of high highs and low lows yesterday. Ryan, you've covered this for a long time, and you get golf, right? The battle of the mind and the internal stuff. Have you ever seen a range like that in such a short amount of time that Rory himself had to manage on a course like Augusta before?
No, honestly.
And I don't want to be prisoner of the moment. I'm just trying to. I mean, he arguably hit two of the worst shots you've ever seen in a situation, three, on that stage, and then came back with one or two of the best.
Yeah. I mean, the hook that you just played the audio of in the 15 was incredible. The shot in the 18 in the playoff was incredible. But then just as bad was the wedge shot in the 13 and barely hanging on to the fringe on 11. And, I mean, just up and down all day. And then he finally figures it out when it mattered the most, when he absolutely had to have it. He hit the best possible shot he could have in the situation on 18 in the playoff, and then buries it. I mean, if you were a Rory McIlroy fan and you've been on any portion of the last 11 years journey following him play, that pretty much sums it all up right there, all in one afternoon, which is pretty incredible.
Ryan, I want to stick on Roy here for a second. I'm wondering what your real-time thoughts were in a couple different spots. Number one, when we get to that three-way tie at 10 under, after Rory had that 5-stroke lead, now he's in a three-way tie at -10, and you're sitting there, what are the chances you're giving Rory in that moment?
15%. I mean, it felt like it had all slipped away, that somehow Ludwig Ober was going to be the Masters champion, or that McIlroy would be locked out of a playoff between Rose and Ober. At that point, I thought it had totally gone. And where he stood, standing in that second shot on 15, I think a lot of people, if you were there in person, probably figured, oh, he's just going to lay up. And then he's going to have to hit one of the hardest wedge shots on the golf course. And he already screwed that one up on 13. So then you start kind of thinking, well, he'll compound that and this will all be over real fast. And, it didn't work out that way.
Now, I'm not saying he's Norman or Vandeveld for that matter, but going into this one, where had you put Rory's fortitude, kind of his mental prowess relative to his accomplishments up through yesterday?
And that's a hard question. I mean, on one hand, he's the most prolific PGA Tour winner of his generation, right? I mean, before yesterday. And yet still, when it came down to it, in the moments that mattered in the 4 tournaments that everyone will remember you by, he didn't have it between the Open in 22, right, where it felt like the entire continent of Europe was pulling for him and he couldn't get it done against Cam Smith. Last year at the U.S. Open, I mean, he had a hand on the trophy, and he blows a short putt and then gets got by Bryson with his incredible bunker play on the 72nd hole. It just kind of felt like the evidence was piling up that this skid that goes back to went back to 2014 until yesterday was just never going to end, and that was he was going to have blown this incredible opportunity once again to end that skid. And I don't know if, I think we're, again, prisoner of the moment, think, well, okay, he's exercised that demon, so surely there are no demons left. This is the ultimate one. Well, I think that may be oversimplifying it a little bit, but it sure feels like today that Rory McIlroy, the competitive golfer, 35 years of age, and now a career Grand Slam winner, is a whole lot different than the guy who could have blown it yesterday and still had 4 majors.
When because we kind of forget about this because he ends up winning the playoff, right? But as he's standing over the putt to win it at 18, I kind of want to go percentages again. Like, how much confidence do you have he was going to make that in that moment?
In the playoff, or
no, the first one, the one that he missed that ended up forcing the playoff.
20%. It just kind of felt like, and I think I tweeted this right after, maximum pain. Like, we're going to go all the way with this. This is not going to come to the logical conclusion that we think it should. That's a hard putt. That is not an easy putt, by the way. I think that putt actually gets harder. It's not too different of a line than the one Rose made to eventually force the playoff, but the putt is almost easier the longer it is. You have to kind of be really particular on that putt. So I didn't really give him a very good chance of making that. and surely he booted it, but then redeemed himself in the playoff hole.
Golf seems to be a lot more forgiving because of its degree of difficulty, but you'll hear this question in team sports a ton. Did such and such a team choke or lose it, or did this other team win it? When you look at DeChambeau's round yesterday, and listen, he's not going to be the story because of the brilliance of what happened to the good yesterday, and maybe that's a good thing for him. But when you look at that round, how buried or how forgiving should we be given how Bryson played on Sunday?
I mean, I think the signs of the cracking were happening on Saturday. He shot 69 on Saturday, I think, and that was probably the best round he could have shot with what he had that day.
It took a Herculean effort on 18, right?
Yeah, he found himself in the final pairing by the grace of making a 45-footer.
Yeah.
That was a bonus putt. Otherwise, it's him and it's McIlroy, probably Corey Connors in that final pairing. And maybe that feels a little different. But I think Bryson probably relied a little too much based on kind of the retelling of it, of what happened at Pinehurst last year and the crowd working for him. And he thought the same thing was going to happen yesterday. And to a degree, it did, until McIlroy fell behind. And then it seemed like on a dime, the patrons turned almost universally in favor of McIlroy. And I think that threw off Bryson. I think what also threw off Bryson is he thought he was going to somehow chat his way up with McIlroy, who's generally very friendly. But he's not a big Bryson fan, and he had a mission in mind, and he was not going to kind of play that game. And I think both of those things got into Bryson's head, on top of what happened toward the tail end of the Saturday round, where you could tell he didn't have it. And he just realized, hey, I don't have it. I'm not winning this thing. And that he kind of ejected himself fairly early in the conversation.
How much does the way Bryson played yesterday, in your mind, impact a guy like Rory, who still is obviously in contention and winning it? I have to imagine it throws off at the very least his rhythm a little bit when Bryson isn't playing well. Like, how much of a factor is that? Because it's not something I hear people talk about a ton.
Yeah, everyone handles it a little bit differently. I mean, it is a momentum game, right? I mean, it is a mental sport. You see someone playing poorly, it's kind of hard to bring yourself way above the level of your competition when they're just kind of stumbling along. But to McIlroy's credit, I think he realized yesterday was about him. And it wasn't about what anybody else was doing. It was entirely about whether he could handle his own demons, he could hit the shots he needed to hit, he could weave his way around the golf course. And I think that probably worked to his favor after he fell behind. It was like, all right, well, this is on you. Like, you have to do this. No one's going to stop you but you, and you're going to have to play that way. I think that probably helped to a degree. If they were both playing poorly, if they're both going really horribly, then I think they would both just drag each other under. But it didn't work out that way in the end.
Right. Did you get the sense or a feel with, and I'm in the broadcasting business, so I'm not critical, but did you feel the emotional connection, or if there was one, with Nance and kind of the storytelling between he and Rory?
I mean, there's a relationship there, and probably the casual fan doesn't necessarily know that. But also, Nance has a huge affinity for Augusta National Golf Club, obviously. I mean, it's a place he wants to have his last golf tournament. He wants to call the 100th Masters in 2036 and then call it a career if he's fortunate enough to live that long. And McIlroy has built a lot of relationships with the membership of Augusta National over the years. He's made a lot of visits to the club, not only to prepare for the tournament, but just because he's met people on the business side that are millionaires and billionaires and influential people who have been helpful in his crafting of his business deals and arrangements and investments and stuff like that. So I think the emotional investment there was partially that, but also it for whatever reason, people in golf media have this affinity for McIlroy, and I think a lot of it
seems
has to do
like
with how forthright he is relative to his peers. I mean, he opens himself up and kind of exposes himself in high moments, low moments, even mundane moments. And people who are writing and talking for a living about the sport really appreciate that, because there are a lot of players who won't give you much. And I think that's probably where Nance's affinity comes from, is that he's a genuine guy. He will tell you who he is and what he's feeling, and he'll contradict himself. He'll be a fool. He'll be amazing, but he'll be him. And I think that's probably why Nance was so emotionally charged by his calls yesterday.
Ryan, as you look at the kind of field in general yesterday, and especially that back nine, we talked about Rory, we talked about Oberg a little bit, trying to position his way. It looked like he might have a shot to win this thing at pretty late in the round. Just on a pure entertainment scale, how did yesterday register with you, especially that back nine?
Oh, man, you couldn't ask for a whole lot better. I mean, I think in terms of best master, I mean, so I was born in 1983. So, I probably started watching golf in 1996 with Faldo beating Norman as he fell apart. I mean, in terms of the Masters that I've watched over 30 years, I don't think you had a better one. I mean, depending on what you felt about the ultimate winner is probably where you rank this one, right? I mean, for me, 2019 is the best Masters there's ever going to be because of Tiger winning probably one last time. The 86 Masters, anytime it's on TV, I will drop what I'm doing to watch it because I think it's that special. I don't know how I'm going to handle watching the 2025 Masters back once we get 1 year, 5 year, 10 years removed, because it was such a just roller coaster from beginning to end. And you know what's going to happen, obviously. We all saw it, but watching it back, the emotions of it will be pretty interesting, I think. But you couldn't have asked for, I mean, those are kind of the top three of my lifetime. 2004, with Phil's comeback on the back nine to get it done. Those are probably the top four. And then kind of depending on how you feel, is Tiger completing the Grand Slam in 2000, or the Tiger Slam in 2001? Is it 1997 when he won by a dozen? Is it someone else that just registers with you? But it kind of feels like it's got to be in the top three of my lifetime. And it interestingly enough, happened in the 50th anniversary year of the 1975 Masters, which a lot of people consider the best Masters ever played.
So let me ask you something, Ryan. Going forward, and I get the 3.5 year age discrepancy, but if it's from a trust standpoint to play a key role in pushing for major championships, if you're concerned about either, but who would you take between Hovland and Justin Thomas?
That's an interesting question. I guess Justin Thomas, because he's done it twice, right? And we're about to go play a major next month at a place where he's won one of those two PGA championships at Quail Hollow. I think Victor Hovland has not quite settled on his path forward, technically speaking. He still he loves searching for answers, and almost searching for answers to questions no one's asking. He's in that space in his career, which makes him a fascinating player, but makes him really hard to trust on the biggest stages. That all said, he had a solid week this week. Maybe some things are starting to come together for him. He's got a bright future, I think, and I think he will win a major someday. I think what he did last year at Valhalla demonstrated he's got that in him. I just don't know how quickly he's going to kind of settle into realizing that he's a world-class player and doesn't have to go search for perfect. He's pretty great the way that he is.
What is it about? What would you, if you're JT, he's constantly working at his game, right? Like the guys on the tour talk about he loves to play and he's kind of got a little closet grimy aspect to his game. What would you tinker with if you're Justin Thomas? It always seems like he's on the heels of, people talk about his talent, and I don't know. I look at the two wins in the same major, and I don't want to poo-poo that. It just seems like he's one of those guys I expect and want more from.
I mean, my personal view is he has all the shots. I mean, he has all the game to win. I think he gets too emotional in playing. I mean, you can see him play a lot where he bumps his shoulders or looks really excited. He feels high and low. Even more than what we saw with Rory McIlroy yesterday, it feels like, where in the ultimate round, I mean, he still even had a level-headedness about it at times. Justin Thomas doesn't always seem to have that level-headedness. And I think when he's playing great golf, he can ride that to win. When he's not playing great golf, it sends him off a cliff or, in the wrong direction. And he's never really figured out how to kind of level that out. And I think that the same thing is true for Jordan Spieth. I mean, he maybe isn't quite as complete a player as Justin Thomas, but his ball striking is fabulous, incredible. But his emotional comportment, when it matters the most, can really drag him down. And the Scotty Schefflers of the world, guys who win prolifically, they don't ever look like what they've done. Whether they're winning or losing, they look about the same. And Scheffler does sometimes get frustrated, but by and large, you don't know that they're winning by 1, 2, 10, or losing by whatever. And I think that at this stage of the game, that emotional maturity has already either happened or it's not going to happen. And I think that's my fear about Justin Thomas.
How about those range of guys? And I'll put Fleetwood in there because I think he's 33 or 34, like right in that 31 to 33, 34 years old that are super talented that you're thinking, man, these guys can really, really be good. I don't know if it speaks to the depth and quality of golf or just how hard it is, in fact, to be good over an extended period of time.
It's really hard to be good for a long time. I mean, it's really hard to be good for a long time. That's one thing. It's almost impossible to be great for a long time. I mean, think of the number of players that have been consistent winners on the PGA Tour that have won more than 20 events to get you lifetime memberships to the PGA Tour. There aren't many of them in our lifetime, and most of them all go by or on a first name basis. Rory, Scheffler, DJ, JT's almost there, not quite, but almost. I mean, there just aren't that many. Winning is extremely hard. Being consistent is hard. You have a temptation to go chase. The margins of the PGA Tour are quarter stroke here, tenth of a stroke there, half a stroke here. You hit this bunker shot 3 feet closer. If you hit that wedge 4 feet closer, that's not a lot, but it's really frustrating. It adds up and leads to people like Hovland going chasing and not just embracing that, this is a very variable sport. Weird things happen. There's only so much that you can control. And I think you kind of get to a stage of your career where, in this age range you're talking about, which has historically been kind of the sweet spot, like you win your majors in your 30s, or at least it used to be that way. Or if you get your one, it's 31, 32, 35, somewhere in that range, and you kind of settle into, okay, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I am not capable of being as great as I thought I could have been when I was in my 20s. And you just kind of live to accept it and let people pass you by, or that have a little bit more chutzpah or bravado or disillusionment, whatever that mentality is that you need to win and kind of think you're better than everybody else. You just kind of settle into being really good and make a lot of money. And I think that's kind of where, Fleetwood's never won in America.
Right.
And yet, and yet he's a top 10 player in the world. And everyone knows in the back of their mind, goes, well, he doesn't win. Why would I pick him to win a golf tournament when he doesn't win in this country? And someday he's going to do it. And then we'll all be conditioned to think, well, surely that'll lift the lid on all of them. And it probably won't. It's just really, really hard.
Of all the consistency, it brings me back to, we thought Jack's record was going to be untouchable for majors. And we've seen players gear up for majors, right? The Brooks Koepkas of the world. But as I'm listening to you talk, well, is the 683 of week set number one the greatest golf accomplishment that you've seen that Tiger Woods had, given the fact of what you just talked about consistency and level of play? That's one record that appears to be untouchable.
Yeah, I think that's one measure of it, right? The world ranking only goes back to 1986. So if the world ranking existed when Jack Nicklaus was at his peak, he would have been number one for 900 weeks in a row. It just his record in the majors in the 1970s alone is probably the greatest Wikipedia article you'll ever read. But in the history of the OWGR, Tiger being tops is unbelievable. I think for Tiger, it's the cuts made streak, which will never, ever be topped. There's no way. I mean, just to be able to grind it out again and again and again. I know there were some no-cut events in there, and I don't care. Just when it mattered. I mean, I think back to like an old Byron Nelson Classic where that tournament didn't matter to him. It didn't matter one bit. But he was like 2 outside the cut line with 4 to play, birdie, 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 birdie. You know, somehow gets to the weekend and the streak is saved. Like he cared about it that much. But then to also, we talk about how being consistent is hard, being great is hard. He was consistently great. He won 82 times on the PGA Tour from 1996 to 2018. That's a 23-year span. That doesn't happen in other sports. I mean, not to many people. And if so many of his decisions in life and injuries didn't happen to him, he probably wins 100 times, and he probably wins 25 majors. And he did it to himself in part because his body fell apart. It's just almost the what could have been are more powerful than what he actually did. What he actually did is unbelievable.
Ryan, last one for me here before we get you out of here. Was there anybody yesterday or over the course of the whole weekend that you were just particularly impressed by? Obviously taking Rory out of it, but of guys that maybe weren't in that top group of finishers that you're like, oh man, I'm kind of excited to see how they play in their next handful of events.
Probably Sanjay M. You know, I think a lot of people 4 or 5 years ago figured he was gonna win a major. I mean, it was gonna happen. He was a young guy, great short game, great ball striker, not necessarily the longest hitter of the ball, but to see him kind of pop his head up this week, have a good week, get in that top 5, that's a fantastic week for him. I am, not that this guy's an up-and-comer, obviously won 2 majors last year, but it was nice to see Xander Schauffele play really well, particularly on the weekend. Obviously had that 2 months out with the rib injury, kind of starting to get on the right track. Maybe this was the warm-up to kind of start to feel good again for the PGA Championship, where he's defending, and then the U.S. Open, which is the tournament I think everyone thought he was going to win as his first major. So I'm very happy to see that. You know, those 2 guys probably stood up for me. I mean, I was very excited for Zach Johnson because he showed up out of nowhere and finished T8. I mean, I definitely did not have that in the cards this week. Not that he's going to suddenly go on a tear or do anything special, but it is kind of cool to every once in a while get
peeks his head up.
Say that 'cause I don't want to call myself old, but one for the old guys. But you know, and same to that page of Justin Rose. I mean, he's not going to get a ton of credit here because he lost the playoff, and Rory McIlroy is the winner. That's what we'll remember this as. But he's had a chance to win 2 of the last 2 majors played. He had a chance at the Open, really good chance at the Open last summer. He had a chance in this to win a playoff. At 43 and 44 years old, he's still playing world-class golf. I think that's remarkable.
And M's only 27, too. Let me get you out of here on this round just because he's my favorite non-Tiger golfer in my lifetime. And how would you describe Jason Day's career?
He's a fascinating guy.
I was hoping you would say him. Just because of what he's battled health-wise over the weekend. And I wanted to take him. We had to pick a pool of 60-1 or greater in a long shot. He's my favorite, and I wanted to take him. I didn't. I settled in.
Better you took him than I took Sepp Straka, and he created.
So did I. So we're in the same boat. Okay, we were in this. I took Straka. I took Sepp in place of taking Jason Day, and I was kicking myself the whole time because Day's my favorite. But he just has had such an interesting career, and I ultimately didn't take him because I didn't think he could hold up over 4 days. But can you talk about him without talking health, or is that just a golf thing and you have to include it?
I mean, I think he just had such a fascinating career from a guy that he probably should have won the Masters before he became number 1 in the world. He probably should have won the 2011 Masters. If Charles Schwartzel doesn't come along, he does win the 2011 Masters. Maybe that changes his entire life. He winds up winning 1 major. He looks dominant for 3 or 4 years, and then injuries and vertigo and all that stuff changes the trajectory. And somehow he digs himself out of that hole and gets to be really, really good again, a top 25 player in the world again. And yet it feels like that story's been written. But, I mean, you could also see a world where he goes and picks up another, a PGA championship or wins an Open out of nowhere or something like that. I still think the game is there. But he is also so much of a family guy that I feel like once that probably fire got extinguished with the injuries, it's so hard to get it back. It's so hard to just decide, okay, I'm going to be in this for me again and go do everything I got to do to be top 5, top 10 player in the world. I don't know if he's still got that gene in him. I don't think that he does, but he's still a hell of a player, and maybe on the right day or the right week, he can do it one more time.
That's Ryan Ballangee, owner of Golf News Net. Ryan, great stuff. We appreciate it as always, and hope you enjoyed the weekend as much as we did.
Oh, it was awesome. Thanks, guys, for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ryan.
That is our guy, Ryan Ballangee. Good stuff there. It's, I was kind of going through some of these guys, and I like to look at top 10s, right? Because I get a better consistency or get a better idea of like how consistently they're competing. Percentage for Justin Thomas is not great.
So that's why I started asking about it.
Yeah.
For our affinity for him,
he's not great.
He's a little boomer busty.
He got the 2 PGA championships, but his percentage of cuts or of top 10s made in majors is,
he's only 31.
Yeah, he's still really young. I think he had the success early, so we feel like he's a little bit older than he is.
Golf is brutal.
It's weird, man. We'll be back. More Hurrdat Sports Live.
I want to talk a little Husker football as well. You're 3 under Matt Rhule. I feel like time's flown by with him, but we saw a bowl win first since 2016. What impressed you about that team, and how did you feel about the season?
Well, I think I was a little disappointed, but I think we all kind of wanted more in year 2. But I think that's just a competitor in me. I do believe that Matt Rhule is doing a tremendous job, and I think he's on track for the things that he's done in the past at other programs, and really just have to respect the process a little bit. He's a tremendous coach, and I think he really cares about the players. He's navigating through some difficult times with NIL and the portal and how that all is going to be working, and so I think he's doing a really good job. And it's a different day and age in college football, but I think with Matt and with his wife Julie, we just got a really great family there to support in Lincoln and with the football program, and we're just lucky to have them here in Nebraska.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Durkin here at Hurrdat Sports Bar. It is the finals of Menu Madness. Make sure that you come down, place your vote. It is down to the Philly cheesesteak sandwich and the buffalo chicken wrap. It is the last week, but the winner is 30% off for an entire month. So come down, cast your vote, and let's round out Menu Madness.
Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, and reminding you that there is such a thing as the credit union difference. When choosing where to bank, find a financial institution that takes the time to understand you, your goals, your needs, and your journey. Whether you're just starting out or maybe getting closer to retirement, maybe you're somewhere in the middle looking for a home or a car, your deserves need to be met. Nope, that's your needs deserve to be met. There we go. And Centris Federal Credit Union can help you out, not only with their products and services, but also their expertise. Get over to centrisfcu.org to check them out today. Federally insured by NCUA and an equal housing lender.
Do you know what I thought Ryan may say? I mean, I was obviously hoping for Day, but I thought he might go with Patrick Reed.
Patrick Reed's interesting.
I thought he may go with Reed. Because nobody likes him and everybody gives him a hard time.
Yeah. Why is that? Like, I don't have a good read. No pun intended. I don't have a good read on that. Like, why don't people like him? Is there a thing?
Yeah, it's his stance with his family.
Oh, okay.
And he's very defiant about it. And it's too simplistic, but basically it was, I mean, and we've seen it happen where you pick your significant other over your family.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
Yeah.
But and he's very unapologetic about it too.
Well, there's a couple of different camps or groups that it seems like people gravitate more towards one of the camps. What I mean by that is the players that kind of hang out together. And he seems to be in that one that isn't one that people gravitate towards, Patrick Reed.
So, it's funny with you bring up Patrick Reed because you mentioned Justin Thomas early with Ryan there, and the way we sort of talk and feel and think about him versus the way we talk about like Patrick Reed, for instance. So both guys that got a major in pretty early, right? 2018 Masters for Patrick Reed. Justin Rose got a couple of those PGA championships, 2017, 2022. But we talk about them in very different ways, but Justin Thomas is much more similar to Patrick Reed in the way he finishes at majors than he is like a Rory or even a Jason Day or some of these other guys that we sort of lump him in a category with. Just for instance here. So Justin Thomas, 8 top 10 finishes and 35 starts. That's about 21%. 8 top 10 finishes for Patrick Reed and 43 starts. Pretty similar. Take that to Rory, for example. 65 starts in majors. How many top 10s do you think he has?
Rory?
Yeah.
16.
32.
I cheated him.
My dude just
almost half his starts.
Yeah, basically half of his starts are top 10s. So I know it'd been a decade since he'd won a major, but that dude was always around.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, remember we had a couple of knockdown dragouts over his backdoor top 10s.
Yeah.
And people would like literally parse through, well, no pressure on Sunday, and he was off the lead, and he's.
And listen,
like,
I get that
man,
matters to a certain extent, but top 10 is top 10.
Yeah. No, he used to get some of that slack. We talk about. I'm telling you, like I'm always fascinated by this. We talk about Rory like he's been like this consummate competitor. And he's won a ton, so you should just leave it at that, right? But what was the number one question I asked to
temperament or talent?
To Rat House. I'm like, why does Rory get the benefit of the doubt after this long? You almost never see that in anybody else.
Been a decade. He had one in a decade.
And I think it's because he's well liked.
But it's
like
also
I'm totally interested in his career arc.
Yeah.
But it's also
that's why I asked John what I did.
But when he messes up, I mean, that is most notable.
It's catastrophic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we've seen it for the last 11 years.
I don't know. Maybe we admire that because he shoots his shot.
And he just keeps going?
Yeah.
So just for reference, your guy Jason Day got off to a scalding start right to his career, and then injuries and health and stuff kind of got into it. 18 out of 54 starts he's made top 10 in majors. Dramatically more effective making top 10s in majors still now than a guy like Justin Thomas or a guy like Patrick Reed.
We still
talk
what's 18 and 54, a third of the time?
33%. a full 10, 12 percentage points better than Justin Thomas.
Yeah.
In the number of or percentage of starts that he's making, or percentage of top tens he's making.
There are
in major
so
starts.
many good young golfers.
Yeah. Well, we talked about Ludwig Oberg.
Yeah, he's 25.
Crazy.
Hovland's 27.
Yeah.
I mean, who's another? I mean, M's 25. Or no, M's 27.
Yeah. There's a bunch of guys in that like 27 range that are really good.
Low 30s too.
Yeah, a lot of 31s.
That's the reason why that weekly the weekly record isn't going to last. I mean, it's going to last.
And I get Jack. I mean, he projected whatever the week's Jack would have been, but the field wasn't near as good.
No. This is all so many of these guys are direct products of Tiger. Like just Tiger made golf not only cool but universal in a way that I get other people golfed in different parts of the world before this. I understand that. But he brought it to a international forefront in a way that it wasn't a niche sport really anymore.
Yeah, and I like Jack a lot.
But it's not. I don't think it's.
And I don't care if you gave Jack the equipment. He's. I just.
I will say
I can't see it.
If he wants to take the cuts made over the weeks at number one, I'm not going to argue with him because that is stupid. Like it's so dumb. I mean, I'm just looking at because I'm going through these majors finishes for these random guys that we're bringing up, right? And just the number of just cut for these guys over the course of 3 or 4 years.
What's Tiger's percentage of top 10 in majors?
That's going to take a minute to I'll count it up, but it's going to take a minute. I was looking at Schauffele just because I was curious about his age and
he's another pup.
31.
Yeah. He's in the low 30s group. I looked at
like
this
27 to 32 is.
No, I'll just give you low 30s because there's a whole nother crop.
Yeah.
Of under 30s.
Yeah.
So I don't like those guys deserve their own deal, like the Zalatoris, the Hovlands, the M's, the Obergs. Like those guys are mid 20s to high 20s.
Mm-hmm.
The 30s, the Spieths, the Fleetwoods, the Cam Smiths, the Justin Thomases. I mean, there's a ton of those guys. That's like this is a hard sport.
Just for the record, Schauffele is making 50% top tens in majors, 16 for 32.
He's steady Eddie.
16 for 32
I joked
right
about
now.
him, and Shane ended up taking him. I was like,
He was still steady. I mean, he was in,
Dude, I missed by 25 strokes, and I think I paid more attention than either one of you two.
Hey, by the way,
I was locked in on my guys. I totally lost track of your guys. That's why I thought it was closer.
Me too, because a bunch of MCs.
By the way,
I don't flipping mean DJs.
Justin in the stream asked, "How do you cheat in golf?" So my question is, was when Rose was taking that extreme amount of time at the end there to read his putt? Is that a kind of a form of like almost cheating? I mean, would that be the way to do it right there? Just taking an extreme amount of time to hit your shot.
I mean, it's not cheating because there's no rules around it, right? Like there's pace of play where
gamesmanship.
Yeah,
sure.
it's gamesmanship at that point, right? But I mean, it's not cheating. It's it's the same thing like talking to a guy. Obviously, Bryson and Rory
didn't talk
speaking yesterday, but Bryson could have made that annoying. Like he could have chatted him up and just kept talking and whatever, and be like, "Oh, nice shot there, Rory," and whatever, and giving him a hard time.
I just kind of, I'd like to just be a fly on the wall and watch the gamesmanship.
Yeah, because I do think it's interesting.
Me too. It's totally captivating.
I mean, Tiger was like that too. Like he didn't talk to people on Sundays.
Yeah, there was a point made. I think it was 13. I don't know. It's either 12 or 13. On Amen Corner about how quiet it is coming off the road.
I thought it was 13, yeah.
13 maybe.
Yeah.
About, like, in essence, all of a sudden going to playing golf by yourself.
Yeah.
Something I would never think of.
Yeah.
Where you could hear a pin drop.
Yeah, that is odd. I would never think of that.
And I was like, that's kind of cool. Because I always wonder how to navigate. Clearly, big mind guy, right? Like how you would navigate that headspace.
Yeah. I don't know, because there is a lot of, it's easy to say, and, we were kind of texting back and forth a little bit, and I was talking about how Rory was maybe enjoying some Popeyes biscuits without a beverage, the way his
why are you picking on Popeyes?
Listen, I like Popeyes, but the biscuits are a tough hang.
little thick.
Yeah, they're a little dense, a little moisture lacking there. But we talk about what guys choking or not being able to come through in big moments and stuff like that. There are some just mental obstacles, whether it's at Augusta specifically or majors in general or just golf as a sport, that none of us understand even a little.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Does the familiarity and the repetitiveness of the Masters every year make it easier or more difficult on the field?
It depends on if you've been good there or not. Like Tiger, it definitely made his life easier. Like in 19 when Tiger got...
Yeah, but how often do they talk about knowing the course?
No, I know. But if you also know the course, that can be a bad thing too.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that begs the question.
You know what I mean? Like, so if you've been successful there, knowing the course is great. You're like, oh, I can do this, this, and this. I can fall back on.
I mean, you'd rather go to Pinehurst or Bethpage Black, or you want to be on one of these rotating sites.
Here's the other thing about the Masters. It's tough because you're never playing there when it's not the Masters.
Yeah, I know.
Right? You play some of these other courses, like you'll play like Pinehurst or like TPC or some of these other places when they're not a major, right? They host other tournaments. So you can have good experiences there without the pressure of a major and be like, oh, no, I've played Pebble Beach well before. I'm okay. You can't do that with Augusta. It's either you've been good in the Masters or you haven't. And there's a lot of guys, and Rory's one of them, where you kind of go.
I actually think that's what captivates the viewing audience, though.
It is
the
familiarity, the names of all the holes, all that stuff.
I think that's right.
And you know the history of the holes, too, because coming up on whatever hole that this is a tough hole. Yeah.
Amen Corner, and just don't pee in Race Creek.
Yeah, apparently that'll get you in trouble.
Like, how far was it to the next porta potty?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Got to keep watering the bamboo.
Don't water it that way. Yeah. Don't water it that way, my guy. That's a no-no. I do find it fascinating though, and I think it's entirely based on how you've done there, whether it's a positive or a negative, which is kind of the fun thing about not just Augusta but golf in general, right? Like the exact same circumstances can produce two dramatically different results in different individuals based on their history.
Well, I've been to this place. I don't know. I think
that might not just be a golf thing though. I mean that could apply to a lot of people.
Here's Memorial Stadium again, or here's Kinnick, or
I mean, think about guys that have struggled to make kicks. You don't think that's similar?
Here's Camp Randall.
Think about Nebraska being like, oh man, here we go again. Oh man, we've struggled here. We haven't played well against Iowa. We haven't played well against Wisconsin. Here we go again.
Did you see Sullivan's in the portal?
I did not. Oh yeah, for Iowa.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna throw him under the bus because never mind. I was trying to do some sleuthing when you were telling me about quarterbacks and weren't naming names, and I was trying to figure out who it were.
You'll get it.
Yeah, I think I got at least one of them.
You'll get it.
But no, it's Sullivan's interesting. He must not have good spring.
Well, that's an interesting football team.
Yeah, I don't know.
And somehow they just manage.
I don't know what to do with them. I learned my lesson on my. Although I still got my 7.5, just barely, but.
Fudge.
I didn't get you still beat me on the 8.5 because
safe as a kid.
I lost to you, but I got my actual bet, so it's fine.
Here's the thing too, with like what happens over the weekend. Could you believe how much do you think the Saints knew about Carr's shoulder before they did the contract?
I don't know, but I do think that's why you started hearing about them pretty aggressively with a quarterback at 9.
Why would they have boxed themselves in?
Because they're not a very good franchise DB.
They couldn't have known.
I wouldn't think so. No. If I'm being serious, they probably couldn't have known. Like this isn't a.
But are we sure?
No, I'm not sure because they're a bad franchise, and bad franchises make bad decisions.
I'd like to see what's baked into the contract, though.
I do also wonder. Okay, this is the same franchise, and I guess
because they just said they were committing to Carr a month ago. Not even.
Yeah.
Shoulder just popped up.
Probably not. But I do wonder. This is the same organization. I get different GM, different coach. But this is the same organization that took a chance on Drew Brees' shoulder and worked out pretty well for him. So maybe they thought internally, hey, we've seen something like this before.
Although that guy is now in Denver, but yeah.
No, I understand, but If you're from like an ownership standpoint, you're like, hey, we've taken this chance before. Maybe you like your medical personnel. Maybe
Are they going back to hire Peyton?
Maybe the medical personnel is the same. And they go, oh, we can get him through this. I don't know. They're obviously a poorly run franchise. It's possible they're just bad at what they do. There might not be a rhyme or reason for it. They might just be bad at this. That's on the table, right?
Mm.
There's we're dysfunctional. That's how that happened.
So
sometimes the easiest explanation is the one. I think the easiest explanation is the Saints are bad at this.
So now you're gonna be hard pressed to not take a quarterback at 9.
They might have to move up.
Well, the odds went from they won't have to. They won't have to.
You gotta.
It depends on.
You're waiting on the Giants.
The Giants aren't taking a quarterback.
I think you're waiting on the Giants. They're just gonna ride with Russ.
Do you want another $20? It's yours.
No, I don't want to bet on it. I don't feel that good, but
yeah, they're not taking a quarterback.
I don't know. I wouldn't feel super comfy at 9.
You brought in Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
and famous Jameis.
Who's a career? Jameis is a backup.
You bring in both those guys.
Yeah.
To draft a quarterback
for 1 year.
That's dumb.
Well, we could have said the same thing about bringing in.
If you draft a quarterback at 3, he's your backup. You don't need to sign Jameis.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nobody can do that.
No, you go draft Hunter and call it good. Put him opposite neighbors or put him on defense or whatever it is you want to do with him.
I feel weird drafting Hunter at 3. That's all I'm saying. I don't feel great about it.
Some feel he's the best talent in the draft.
How many games does Travis Hunter win you?
Listen, you don't have to convince me.
I
am not in on the Travis Hunter buzz.
Can I say he's super talented and still be like, I don't think he changed your franchise at all?
No, I think he has more of a chance to change a franchise as a corner.
Yeah, maybe. If I look at Travis Hunter and I'm looking at a number 3 pick in the draft, I understand even if
it's just too hard to take a guy that high that needs help. And if he plays receiver, he needs help.
He needs a lot of help.
So now defense, you don't need as much help.
No, but how many times have you seen a corner turn around a franchise?
I think I saw it with Revis. I listened to Ryan and those guys talk about what it was like to.
I'm not saying it's never happened,
defense with Revis. I think it happens more than you think.
Okay.
I really do.
That's fair.
More so than a wideout.
I agree. No, I agree there for sure.
So if the Saints, like, you obviously brought in Shuck, he's not a 9 quarterback unless he's your franchise. Now they may feel he's their franchise, and it doesn't have to be Shedeur.
It could be Shedeur, it could be Dart. Shuck
is apparently the next one coming off the board.
Yeah, are we going to have?
There'll be a late yes.
Are we going to have 4 guys going off in the first round?
You could.
And then Milroe probably goes early second at this point. That's the way they're talking about him.
If you think he's a quarterback, but I don't.
I know you don't, but that's the way they're talking about him. And I guess I don't know what other people see him as a quarterback or not, but they're talking about that guy going in the 30s. You don't invite him to the green room unless you think he's going in the 30s.
No, I know.
But maybe they think he's Debo. I don't know.
That's probably what I would do.
It's just, hey, here's the ball. Go figure something out.
I would.
I don't really want you throwing it around the yard much.
It's tough out here.
If the Giants don't take him, the Saints are the next one. Like, if the Giants don't take a quarterback, the Saints are the next one up.
You're going to do everything you can to talk yourself into the Giants taking a quarterback.
I think
they will not.
I think the Giants and Jets are still on the board.
Okay.
Because I don't think anybody sold on Justin Fields. I don't think anybody sold on Russell Wilson.
So you feel like it's pretty good for the 26-year-old Justin Fields for you to give him the 2-year deal and work out the money you did, and then to draft a quarterback?
Listen, what did we just say about the Saints? Some people just aren't good at this.
But they're not.
No, but some of them are dumb. But some of them are. That's the thing. We've seen teams make really dumb choices over and over and over again, and then we're shocked when they do it again.
I'm telling you, man, it's free money. I'm plus 20. You can get it back. I'll give you either one of those two
give me
teams.
either one of those?
Yes.
All right, I will take either one of those. $20 that one of those two takes a quarterback.
Yeah.
Not Shedeur, a quarterback.
So with those picks.
With 3 or 7.
Yeah. You're on.
Can I have anybody before 9?
No.
I mean, after.
Were you trying to hustle a hustler?
After Tennessee.
No, I'm giving you the 2 New York franchises.
What if they move out of those spots but stay in the top 7?
Listen, man, I'm not going to contingency
No, I would like
the deal.
I would like a okay, let's say they stay above New Orleans but move out of those spots. I still win.
They stay above New Orleans.
Yes. One of the New York teams stays above New Orleans. Because I want it, like, if New York moves back to 5 or something and takes a quarterback, that should count for me still. If the Giants move back to 5 and take a quarterback, that should count for me.
Yeah.
So
if
they're above New Orleans.
Time out.
Yeah.
I'll give you this. If it happens in the first 7 picks between either New York team, they will not take a quarterback.
Give me 8 picks.
No.
Yeah, because I want they're above New Orleans.
No.
4, 6, 8, 12.
No.
Fine. One of the New York teams in the top 7.
Yeah.
All right. Done.
Okay.
I'll take it.
Easy.
I'll take it.
What can I? So now I'm up to a $40 meal.
Well, you're at 20 right now. Hold your horses.
Pretty soon,
Hold your
I'll
horses.
be able to have to not eat by myself.
Next week.
Although I would eat by myself and just get a big meal too.
Another week and a half?
I'm not above that. It's 2 porcosaurus.
I was gonna say, how much meat can you buy with $40?
Not a ton.
Yeah.
No.
Stuff out
Plus, I want to try the new Chop House.
Oh, which one's that?
168th. But I wouldn't get the.
Oh, I haven't been out there.
I want the scallops though.
I do like scallops.
I want the scallops.
Love me some scallops.
We will embrace it.
I'm not super excited to buy steaks out anymore.
I'm not really either. You can.
I made a tremendous piece of meat yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were we eating?
So I got the chuck. It was the one that the butcher cut for me where he left the chuck eye in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to think this was blasphemy until I listened to my buddy Kevin sent me a video from Malcolm Reed. This is probably 4 or 5 years ago. And he took meat to 204 degrees so he could pull it. So the connective tissue would break down, which doesn't, I mean, you're talking about a guy that likes to eat things medium rare. And I'm like, God, this sounds like it's going to be dry. But I did a big chuck and I smoked it and I pulled it. I pulled it.
Like a pulled pork?
Yes.
Yeah.
Except it was kind of chunkier.
Sure.
It wasn't shredded. And it was, I ate it out of the bowl with mushrooms.
Ugh. I hate mushrooms.
Sauteed them in the meat's juice.
Yeah.
And I had some, this is dumb, but I had some Oaxaca cheese already shredded.
Yeah.
I ate it out of the bowl.
I like Oaxaca cheese.
I'm telling you, Mike was like, "Oh, take this for lunch." It was unbelievable.
Not messing around with the mushrooms though.
Yeah, I'm still learning. Like I didn't know you could pull meat like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known that you could do that with chuck.
Yeah, I just put my hand in there with gloves on and I just squished it.
Do you have like the bear claw things that you like shred it apart with?
Yeah, but according to my friends, that's worse than using an electric knife. Just things you don't do.
What?
Oh yeah. I'm so insecure. I was intimidated into not using the claws.
I feel like these people are being pretentious for no reason. You do whatever you want to do, DB.
I blame it on one Matthew Milliken. I brought out an electric knife once, and he almost left the house. I'm dead serious. I said, "Oh, this coming from a guy that buys Blanton's, where you collect the animals on $100 bottles of whiskey or bourbon."
No, you're exactly right.
Okay, let's not talk about bougie.
Too good for a.
Yeah, I brought the claws out, and you would have thought I was wearing thermals. Oh yeah, laughing stock. So they stay in the drawer.
Yeah, those people need to chill.
I'm just get in there.
You need to listen. I think it's dumb that people are judging you for having a more efficient method of doing that.
I don't know. I think it's dumb that I caved.
Well, that also, but
thanks.
You need to
old Bartles and James moment. Appreciate your support.
They'll say coach is tripping.
Yeah, coach. Yeah, Robbie's tripping.
A little sweet and a little sour. No, I'm just. I'm just saying, I think you need to surround yourself with people that are a little more supportive, like me.
They're actually probably more supportive. They wouldn't say half the stuff you say to me.
Yeah, and I'm still more supportive. Look at that.
Let you tell it. Shane, what would we have done if would we have gloated? I wouldn't have, because I own Robbie typically in bets, but I can't believe we got smoked like that.
It was a tough look for you guys.
It's over on Saturday.
Yeah. It wasn't great.
I was hanging on a little calamari.
And how many guys didn't make the cut?
Well, 2 of my 5, so you know I was in trouble.
And how many of my guys?
I didn't look.
I believe it was also 2. I have it.
And
right
I
here.
said 3 guys might not make the cut, and you guys thought that would be over aggressive.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
I was sweating it, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah, so Finau for you, and
He never got off the ground.
He's terrible. I'm never picking him again.
No, it might
Ever.
have just been 3
Ever.
for Shano.
Well, I had 2 myself.
Because Scheffler made the cut. Cam Smith made the cut.
Did Cam? Yeah, Cam shot 2 over, I think.
Yeah. Hideki made the cut?
No.
Okay, so Hideki's the one that didn't make the cut for Shano.
I better go back.
That would be the other one is Hideki.
Because I had 2 myself.
Yeah, in Wyndham. No, I had Wyndham Clark. You had Zalatoris and Straka.
Yeah.
Hideki for Hideki. Just show up.
Didn't.
Yeah, he made the cut. He was -2. So I think he just had 1.
That's embarrassing.
Because
Good job.
Finau, and then let me double check Cam Smith here.
No, Cam Young didn't make the cut. I don't know about Cam Smith didn't make the cut either.
Okay, so Cam Smith and Finau didn't make the cut first. So you each had 2 guys to make the cut.
Yeah.
Which was a little damning for you because the 3-shot penalty per day was rough.
It was aggressive.
And
it was bad.
I mean,
was
Wyndham
terrible.
Clark shot 5 over and he made the cut.
Yeah, he had a bad Sunday. And then Rahm had a terrible start. I thought he wasn't going to make the cut, and then he rallied.
So I watched Rahm. Rahm might be one of those guys that had the greatest came and went ever.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, he was a Scheffler for a while where you picked him any major he was starting.
Like multiple ones in a row. Because I did that like last year.
And so how long was his run? It seems like it was like 2 years, but it had to be more than that, didn't it?
I mean, he's probably been better than we're giving him credit for. So he's made 2, 4, 7, 9, 10. He's made 13 top 10s. He's got 2 wins. His wins were in 21 and 23 in the U.S. Open and Masters, respectively. And
Did we think Rahm was going to have more than 2 majors?
Oh, absolutely.
I think so.
Probably.
It seemed like he was getting ready to be dominant.
When he was playing good, he was dominant and he was confident.
But
you could tell he had the confidence.
I do feel good about one thing I said about Rory a couple years ago. Remember when I said when he's playing well, he's probably the most likely to run away and lap the field. And if it's anything but a major, I'd probably be right.
So he's made 13 out of 34 top 10s in majors.
Another 33%er.
A little better, almost 40.
Is it closer to 33 or 40? 13 out of 34?
Yeah.
Yeah, close to 40, 38%.
So it's pretty good clip for him. Still, I mean, he made his last top 10 was at the Open Championship last year.
And he's got the 2 majors, right?
And just the 2. But he went basically from 21 to 23, he made 7 top 10s and had 2 wins.
He's one of the few guys who doesn't seem like he's interested in his body ever getting better.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, even Patrick Reed shaved LBs.
Yeah. And he's a naturally kind of bigger guy.
Yeah, he's just a bigger guy.
Yeah, which is going to be tough for
him. I just know that's a brutal sport that we spent way too much time on that we didn't even get to. Nebraska baseball getting owned.
Oh, it was the greatest. It was the greatest Masters ever.
Hyperbole, Shane.
How much is there left to talk about Nebraska baseball getting owned?
Robbie, I'm going to will them into the Big Ten tournament.
I mean, good luck.
I know. They don't appear to be. Well, they better get Northwestern. No, who's the midweek? Yeah, this midweek is Creighton this week.
Yeah, it's tomorrow.
And you've got Northwestern.
It's not getting any easier.
It's getting hectic.
It's getting a little dicey for our boys.
I'm on it.
I'm sure we will get to them tomorrow. DB is going to start willing stuff into existence. DB in his manifestation era, apparently.
That's what we do.
We'll be back tomorrow with more Hurrdat Sports Live.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.